Good evening, and welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine.
It's Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. This is Faith On with another episode of The Swamp. It has been exactly 1 year since President Trump was elected to his second term in office, and Republicans, agencies, and administration leaders are praising his first year of accomplishments. Vice President J.D. Vance and Second Lady Usha Vance just made a historic announcement today, a first ever for the Vice Presidency. Glenn Beck drops bombshell criticisms against the Trump administration today, targeting Attorney General Pamela Bondi for her lack of substantial results in pursuing deep state actors and clear-cut political criminals. House GOP Majority Whip Tom Emmer announced a bill that will revoke the citizenship of any immigrant who commits fraud. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, shares a video statement explaining the sweeping accomplishments of her office over the last year. The Department of Homeland Security held an operations press conference in Minnesota today, providing updates on Operation Metro Surge. And Michelle Obama gives an interview where she recommends women to not shop at white-owned businesses as she sits there wearing a multi-thousand-dollar dress created by a white designer. And there's a lot more that happened today, so we're going to dive straight in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a like if you have a second, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the daily updates. And if you leave a comment below, I might just read it on tomorrow's episode. And also, every article you'll see in the video will be linked in the description below. And we got this from the White House, the most pro-family administration in history. Congratulations from Second Lady Usha Vance. We're very happy to share some exciting news. Our family is growing. We're very excited to share the news that Usha is pregnant with our fourth child, a boy. Usha and the baby are doing well, and we are all looking forward to welcoming him in late July. During this exciting and hectic time, we are particularly grateful for the military doctors who take excellent care of our family, and for the staff members who do so much to ensure that we can serve the country while enjoying a wonderful life with our children. And I'm sure that's Usha Vance's signature, as this is from her profile. So very cool, very exciting news. The first time ever that a second lady has ever been pregnant while the vice president is currently in office. That's never happened before. This is a first in American history. So big congratulations to them. That's very cool. And we'll go ahead and move on to the next thing. There's quite a bit that happened today. So next thing from Tom Emmer, breaking. I've just introduced a bill to revoke the citizenship of anyone who came to this country and committed fraud against the American people. The Stop Citizenship Abuse and Misrepresentation Act, or SCAM Act, will clarify by law what is already clear by common sense. Anyone who commits fraud against American taxpayers, affiliates with a terrorist organization, or commits an aggravated felony or espionage shortly after becoming a naturalized U.S. citizen never met the requirements for naturalization in the first place. The SCAM Act will not only hold Somali fraudsters in Minnesota accountable, but it will restore long overdue integrity to America's entire naturalization process. It's time to send them home. And by the way, he is the majority whip in the House, so he's got a lot of weight. He's got a lot of power in the House, so this is something that very well could possibly hit the floor. I mean, I would assume pretty much anything that he introduces to the floor, he's probably already whipped up enough votes to get it passed, or at least get it a pretty good distance into getting passed. So anyway, SCAM Act, if you came to this country to commit fraud against the American taxpayers, affiliate with a terrorist organization, commit an aggravated felony, or espionage, you didn't meet the requirements for U.S. citizenship in the first place and will be sent back home. Amen. That's been a long time coming. And yeah, I'm sure that's written, all over the rules with regard to getting your citizenship. Would not be surprised at all, because, you're taking your oath to the country. I'm assuming to uphold, like all the morals and values of the country, the Constitution, the whole nine yards, and committing fraud. Or I wouldn't stop at fraud. I would say committing any felonies at all. That would just be my assumption. Or just an idea to be tossed around. You probably shouldn't be committing felonies if you're an immigrant and you receive your citizenship. So I don't know. That's just me. Is that too harsh? I don't know. If that's too harsh, let me know in the comments. All right. So anyway, this comes from Speaker Mike Johnson. This week, House Republicans will consider the final set of fiscal year 26 funding bills and complete the annual appropriations process without a bloated omnibus bill. Well, I mean, I'm sure that's a good thing. It's usually a good thing. I think it's ridiculous that they package hundreds of bills all up together and pass it as one big super bill. I think that's unbelievably stupid and definitely disingenuous toward the American people. It's very dishonest because there's a lot of those bills that they know good damn well that will not get passed if the American people hear about it, but that's why they slide it into those omnibus bills and they just pass it along with everything else. So it's a good thing that they're deciding not to do that this time. I mean, good luck getting Democrats to do that if and when they take power again. I'm sure they're going to be railroading probably thousands of bills through in omnibus bill after omnibus bill. All right, anyway, so the House has already passed 8 conference appropriations bills with overwhelming support, and we expect a similar outcome for the final 4 bills on the House floor this week. After years of Washington abandoning regular order, this Congress under Republican leadership has proven it can work as intended. Together, all 12 individual appropriations bills will provide full-year government funding without unrelated policy provisions, spend less than another continuing resolution, and continue to advance President Trump's America First agenda. I guess. I mean, yeah, obviously nuke the filibuster. Speaker Mike Johnson doesn't have the power to do that because he's in the House, not in the Senate, although I'm sure he's got a lot of friends in the Senate. It would certainly help if he put his political weight behind that idea to nuke the filibuster, because we already know as soon as Democrats, if and when they take over the Senate, that's item agenda number 1. They are going to do that 100%. And I'd say agenda item number 2 that Democrats would do if and when they take over the Senate will be to start stacking the Supreme Court, because I think they've already been quite clear on that. Then, of course, defunding ICE, and you kind of see how that goes. But yeah, if they have a simple majority, there's no stopping them. I mean, they're going to literally pass anything and everything that they could possibly imagine, which is kind of terrifying, to be honest. So, all right, anyway, so let's get back to the next topic at hand. From the White House, President Donald J. Trump receives massive cheers from the Hard Rock Stadium crowd during the national anthem at the CFPB playoffs, college football playoffs, national championship. Can you tell I didn't see this? I didn't watch the game. Honestly, I don't even know who won, which is kind of crazy because, I spent a good part of my life living in Indiana, and that's the first time IU went to the championship. I swear, I didn't even look it up. I didn't have time to look it up today. So I hope IU won, but if they didn't, then, whatever. I ain't going to beat myself up over it. So anyway, let's listen to this. Let's listen to the crowd.
At the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars.
Oh, yeah, they were cheering, all right. They were making some noise for the president when they showed his image on the Jumbotron, and he's there with his grandkids. That was pretty cool. All right, and this is from the White House. 365 days of President Donald J. Trump, a golden age just getting started. I've got quite a few posts to go through with regard to the first. This is marking the official completed his first year as president for his second term. So there's going to be a lot of accomplishments that are going to be covered in the next short little while. So we're going to start right here from the White House. Good grief, man. They packed a lot inside that minute. I mean, hell, you could go frame by frame. That'd take a friggin' hour to go through all those images. I mean, it has been a crazy-ass busy year for President Trump over the last year. A hell of a lot going on. This also from the White House, a defining moment in history, a clear mandate from the American people. 365 days later, President Donald J. Trump is delivering. Patriotism is rising. America is back, and the story is just getting started. This one's a little bit longer.
Sometimes
almost 4
in
minutes.
history, there's this magic moment somebody appears on the scene and everything changes.
I am with you.
We've never seen anything like this.
I will fight for you.
This was a man who's met his destiny.
And I will win for you.
He said he was saved by God in order to make America great again.
His victory was the greatest comeback of all time.
You're watching history, so buckle up.
I don't think the American people have ever seen this before. A government that has moved this quickly and a president that has done so much when it comes to the border and energy and major investments from
it goes on and on. The border, energy, transportation, Department of Education, the VA, the global stage, the world stage,
from the people, and he's using
tariffs.
Just getting started.
President Trump said on the campaign trail, success
9
will be my
peace deals,
Despite the best
or
efforts
10.
of
I think we're up to
those who
10
would
now.
try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation that will always be free. We're going to have one shot at this, and no other president's going to do what I'm doing.
America's back, common sense is
Yeah,
back.
I really think he's right about that.
Promise to you, the
I think,
American
honestly,
people,
after President Trump's finished with his second term, we're going to go right back to the establishment bullshit.
And record tariff revenue.
I hope I'm wrong, though.
is on a roll, culminating in the signing of the One Big Beautiful Bill on July 4th.
The Trump economic golden age is full steam ahead. America is back, thanks to the courage of President Trump, thanks to the leadership of his amazing cabinet, and thanks, of course, to our brave men and women in the United States military.
This is a message to the rest of the world. The days of ripping off America and Americans are officially over.
Between the attacks on Iran's nuke site and the Maduro operation, the U.S. military recruitment at an all-time high.
This president will go down in history as a peacemaking president.
Peace through strength, America's in charge.
And he's just got one filter, and that is America first.
Whatever they're doing, it's working. Zero illegal crossings, drug cartels frustrated, less crimes.
We have the most secure border in the history of this nation. If you think we're doing good now, you just wait till this coming year.
The president isn't taking his foot off the gas in 2026.
It's a new year. The stock markets are already making new record highs. The Trump archives are a series of near impossible feats.
As for the next year, the American people have so much to look forward to. The president will continue to build off of his historic accomplishments.
2025 was setting the table. The banquet's going to be in 2026.
This is
Let's
the
hope so.
golden age coming.
He says, make America great again because every American is invited.
My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future because the golden age of America has only just begun.
Well, there you have it. That was a hell of a busy year, as I already said. Hell of a crazy year. Hell of a good year in many ways last year, 2025. All I know is in 2026, yeah, I'm sure Trump is just going to stay full steam ahead. It's going to be another crazy busy year. I just hope that Congress, I hope they just get freaking ruthless this year and they just start railroading as many executive orders as they can, codify those, pass as many bills as possible, the SAVE Act, also the one that Tom Emmer discussed earlier with the naturalization of immigrants committing fraud, and the list goes on. I mean, that's just really what they have to do, man. Congress has got to get off their asses, man, and just really start moving a lot, because they got to look. There is a lot to show for, not so much with Congress, but there's a lot of Trump's accomplishments that he has to show for that should, at least in theory, carry a lot of candidates across the finish line on election day. I'm just not sure if that's really going to quite be good enough. And plus, dude, they've got plenty of ammunition to fire back at Democrats for what the hell they've been doing. There's not a single thing in 2025 Democrats did that was in any way positive in any meaningful way for Americans. It's all been just, destroy and obstruct and pro illegal immigration, pro fraud apparently now. So, I mean, look, they've got a lot of ammunition to win 2026, but I'm sure it's just going to take a lot of careful planning strategy. plus the SAVE Act, the SAVE Act, the SAVE Act. They've got to get that passed. They got to make our election system as ironclad as possible for 2026. And if they don't do that, then, I mean, look, it would just reinforce my reason why I'm not even a registered Republican, because they don't get shit done. They're just full of shit most of the time. At least historically they are. And I just hope that this time, or for this election this year, hopefully we're all proven wrong, and hopefully we'll see a Republican Congress like we've not seen before. I don't know, man. I've got my doubts. And I think many of us have our doubts that we're going to see a Congress that effective, but one can only hope. So anyway, we're just going to move on to Stephen Miller. He posted a banger. So he says, 1 year ago today, after 10 years of persecution, 2 near assassinations, actually, I think some might even argue almost 3, and unrelenting wrath of the corrupt political class, an earthquake shook the depraved establishment to its core. President Trump achieved history's greatest and most astounding political victory. America saved, Providence fulfilled. Okay, yeah, 2 near assassinations prior to him being elected president. Okay, I'll go with that. In these last 12 months in rapid succession, it's been one reversal of decline after another, one colossal win for America after another. Record border security, record deportation, record crime reduction, record inflation reduction, record tax reduction, record native job growth, record investment, record slashing of the trade deficit, record deregulation, record energy production, the dismantlement of DEI, trans insanity and woke supremacy, dethroning the deep state and the tyranny of bureaucracy, the revitalizing of our national patriotism and glory in this, our 250th year, the resurrection of American culture, including the designation of English as the official language of the United States, the reassertion of American sovereignty, hegemony, strength, and Western civilization, the reawakening of the Monroe Doctrine and implementation of the Trump Doctrine, ending 8 wars, restoring the unrivaled might and lethal dominance of the American armed forces, and using those forces to secure our interests and our borders, and to crush the cartels and foreign enemies of the United States, and the thrilling dawn of a new American age of superiority in space, technology, medicine, automation, computing, manufacturing, and the grand industries of the future as we once again reach for the limits of our infinite destiny. This is the golden age of America. And don't forget about the Gulf of America. The Gulf of America. And it was an amazing year last year for sure. I mean, there was so much that got done. Not to get all black-pilled or anything, but if Democrats, if they take over Congress, and God forbid in 2028, if they take over the Oval, they could pretty much unravel everything. I mean, I would go as far as to say exactly that. They really could. They could unravel pretty much anything they damn well please. So, not to throw a wrench into Stephen Miller's statement. I mean, that was a hell of a good statement. I'm just saying, I don't know, man. I just feel weary about the midterms, just statistically speaking, historically speaking. Typically, whichever party wins the presidency during the midterm, it's usually the other party that takes over, especially if the political party of the president wins, as well as the president during that election cycle. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. Let's just hope that they just carry on. I think a lot of it's going to lie in how productive Congress will be this year. Anyway, so DNI Tulsi Gabbard, and she posted a video to accompany this post. 1 year ago today, President Trump took office, pledging to confront America's greatest challenges head on. ODNI has spent the past year focused on one mission, keeping America safe, secure, and free. Our mission continues. Let's take a look at this.
1 year ago, as President Trump assumed office, he pledged to the American people that his administration would confront our nation's greatest challenges head on, and enacting his America First agenda focused on keeping America safe, secure, and free. As Director of National Intelligence, we have been and will continue to be focused on that mandate, ensuring the security of our nation and protecting the constitutional rights and civil liberties every American is guaranteed. And President Trump has already taken historic action immediately to secure our borders in record time and designated several cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
About damn time.
A move that has empowered our National Counterterrorism Center here at ODNI to deploy over 2 decades of counterterrorism expertise towards detecting and deterring cartels and gangs like never before. In just 1 year, this designation by President Trump prevented more than 10,000 individuals with direct ties to narco-terrorism from accessing our country. And we work very closely with our partners at the federal, state, and local level. We've assisted them in the
85,000? Holy
apprehensions
shit.
of several cartel terrorists, including a
number.
Sinaloa cartel boss known as El Pato, who allegedly led a vast network of drug trafficking, extortion, kidnapping, and murder. Another example is a CJNG-affiliated baby trafficker called La Diabla, who preyed
remember they
on
busted
vulnerable
her.
pregnant women in Mexico, lured them to remote areas, cut out their babies,
Yeah.
harvested their
So messed up.
organs, and sold these newborn babies. These are just a few examples of the progress that's been made toward ending the gang and cartel violence that's plagued the American people and put our lives at risk for far too long. As we focus on external threats, we also recognize that there are still insider threats coming from deep state actors who have politicized and weaponized our institutions and our
for sure.
intelligence against the very citizens that they are charged to serve and protect.
Are you listening,
Now,
AG
thanks to
Pam
President
Bondi?
Trump's leadership and his day one executive orders, we've been focused on transparency and accountability. First, declassifying over 500,000 government documents in a single year. We exposed the Russia collusion hoax, this fabricated so-called intelligence engineered by the Obama administration to orchestrate what was essentially a coup.
Yeah, remember when she dropped
lawfare,
that bombshell?
manufactured investigations,
Dropped
and
all those
impeachments
documents?
and harassment,
Absolutely
subverting
wild.
the will of the American people in the deep state's attempt to delegitimize the president and the American people who elected him.
Did
Now,
anybody get
there's
indicted
so
for
much
that
more
yet?
work to be done. The American people deserve the truth, accountability, and justice from our government. The integrity of our democratic republic depends on it. President Trump vowed to eradicate waste, fraud, and abuse throughout the government, respecting your hard-earned taxpayer dollars. At ODNI, we enacted historic change. We streamlined our workforce by 40%, shut down unnecessary facilities and contracts, saving taxpayers more than $700 million per year. We are continuing this work,
The
building
FBI is
a
doing the
team
same
and
thing.
an organization
Saving
that is
billions.
laser-focused on national security, intelligence integration, and oversight. We've made a lot of progress, but there is a lot more work to be done. So every day, our time, our energy, and our work remains focused on our mission and our mandate: the safety, security, and freedom of the American people.
There you go. There you have it. From Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence. And we'll roll on to the next. There's still quite a few from Howard Lutnick. And just real quick, Howard Lutnick is the 41st United States Secretary of Commerce. And he says in just 1 year, President Trump's America First trade agenda has changed the trajectory of our economy. We're rebuilding our industrial base, securing supply chains, and bringing investment and jobs back home where they belong. We're only just getting started.
The fact is, the United States has hit how many record highs? 50 or something record highs this year since Donald Trump took office, right? Oh, and the market's down today. Oh, what? We should all be worried? Let me give you a hint. The growth of the United States
ridiculously high,
is
man.
hard and fast. We are winning and we are growing. Our stock market's going to be higher when I next see you and I'm next on the show.
Wait, didn't the Dow Jones top 50,000 yet? It came pretty damn close if it didn't cross over that.
The United States is in a good place because Donald Trump
S&P sitting around 7,000,
and he's working for the American people.
It's crazy.
Well, clearly,
the fact is,
absolutely crazy, man. It's just exploding, absolutely exploding. Which, of course, it is. I mean, not only for the tariffs, but also, what was it, over $10 trillion worth of investing from either from private investors or from national investors like Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar. Or Qatar, however the hell you pronounce it. Like, they invested something like $1.2 or $1.5 trillion into the United States. That announcement came out recently. All right, so from the VA Secretary Doug Collins, so proud of all the Department of Veterans Affairs has accomplished in just 1 year under President Trump's leadership. See how we're putting veterans first here, and he gives a link to their website, which I will link below, but we'll check out the video.
You're coming up on 1 year in the job. How's it been?
A challenge every day, but it's been a great challenge.
When I got to the VA, there was 260,000 backlogged disability claims
Good
that were
grief,
over
that's ridiculous,
125 days. So we put an intense focus on it. We put overtime on it, and I'm here to report to you today, we have dropped it to under 150,000, and it is falling every day.
I mean, that's a hell of an achievement. But dude,
We closed
150,000
out
is
the
still
year
a
with
huge
over
number.
3 million claims processed. That's 2.4 million was the previous record.
Yeah, that's a
We
lot.
shattered that
That
by
is a lot.
600,000.
The first step is developing a culture that says, we've done it this way for so long, is this still the right way to do it? In other words, the paperwork should be simple enough, the process should be simple enough that they can get the benefit that they've earned.
Community care coupled with our direct care is something that is vital. It's what the Mission Act requires.
I mean, we've spent billions of dollars from Congress and others to try and get an electronic health record system in. Let's make sure we're looking to see how we can solve this problem. And instead of just doing 4 for possibly next year, we're up to 13 sites and looking to do even more in the years out. This is another victory at the VA, is we're looking forward to modernizing what we do and making sure our patients are taken care of.
I want to turn to another innovation that you have pushed very hard, and that is getting these new regional centers out there in between the gaps of the hospitals, the big hospitals. I think about 20 or 24 of them you've done now.
We put those in places that allow for drive times to be reduced. I mean, we built them all over the country, which cuts our long-term costs and gives us a better quality of life. So for us, the homeless situation, the death by suicide situation are my top priorities. How can we help them get self-sufficient, self-sustaining? We don't want to see any person who served this country not have the ability to find shelter and have permanent shelter. We're also getting ready to announce here pretty soon a reorganization that's going to bring our hospital system organizationally in line with the 21st century.
So we reorganize it where our hospitals and clinics are the tip of the spear. Everybody else supports them instead of the other way around. We're changing the metric. The metric is no longer how big we are. The metric is how well are we taking care of veterans, and that is our only measure of success anymore.
Yeah, with regard to our welfare state, I'm all for putting money and resources toward the veterans. I mean, you're going to be hard-pressed to find anybody, especially anybody who leans conservative or on the right to have, any other viewpoint on that. But Doug Collins, I don't really know much about him, but he definitely comes off as a guy who spends a lot of time at the VA facilities, spending time with the veterans, hanging out with them, getting feedback. At least I like to think that he is. All right, so this is from HHS, Housing and, Health and Human Services. My bad. It's not HUD, it's HHS. So under President Trump's leadership, we are restoring gold standard science. They don't have a video with this one, but I'll read it with the bullet points. Restoring gold standard science. HHS followed ACIP's recommendation to remove mercury from the U.S. flu vaccine supply. I mean, that seems a little common sense. ACIP recommended individual decision-making for COVID-19 vaccination and placing the decision back with parents. Good. The CDC updated the U.S. childhood vaccine schedule to align with international consensus and comprehensive science. What is it, like 15 or 13? It's like a 13 different vaccines as opposed to something like 73 or 75 vaccines that the CDC was recommending prior to that. Just unbelievable. Like pretty much every European country, they only give their children like 15 at the most. So HHS is tackling the autism epidemic by authorizing potential treatments, issuing a warning on acetaminophen, and announcing $50 million to research root causes. Year one of Make America Healthy Again. I mean, autism is absolutely insanely exploded. It was like in the 90s, it was something like 1 out of every 10,000 children had autism. Now it's like 1 in 36. Just unfreaking believable. All right, Randy Weber, January 20th, 2026, 365 days in, and really all we needed was a new president. Here are the numbers that prove it. And there's image, Trump's 365, and let's see, from Congressman Randy Weber, of course. So 14 of the top 20 metro areas with the largest illegal alien populations saw home list prices fall, including cities in Texas. Austin dropped 7.3%. Houston and Dallas both fell also, and that can be found on whitehouse.gov. For years, unchecked illegal migration acted like a mudslide on our housing market, burying working families under higher prices. You don't fix a mudslide by piling on more weight. The president fixed it by enforcing the law and closing the border, unlike the last quote-unquote president. Texans and Americans are finally getting a fair shot again. Now look at where prices didn't fall. Seattle up 0.3%, Chicago up 0.4%, Philadelphia up 0.5%. Every one of them is a sanctuary city. Of course they are. At the pump, Americans are seeing the same story. Gas prices are now at $2.79 a gallon, the lowest national average in nearly 5 years. President Trump unleashed American energy again instead of begging foreign adversaries. Damn straight. Definitely a good thing. When America moves in the right direction, costs come down. Families notice, paychecks stretch further, small businesses feel it. Our kids are counting on an America where hard work still leads somewhere. That future is back within reach. I certainly hope that everybody remembers that come up election time, because everybody needs to be voting this time. Vote with your life, for crying out loud. All right, so 365 days in, the formula is proven. Enforce the border, unleash American energy, restore law and order, grow the economy. That's the road to the American dream. All we needed was a new president, and that's exactly what Americans got. Amen. And we'll head on to the next. Senator Marsha Blackburn. Under Joe Biden, inflation once reached a staggering 9.1%. Y'all remember that? Remember that during the COVID era? Everything was skyrocketing. Just some of the most ridiculous prices. Like a freaking Miracle Whip. That's one that I distinctly remember. Like the full-size jar, what is it, like 16 or 20-ounce jar of Miracle Whip typically costs like, what, $4.50? And during the height of that inflation bullshit, at least in my local grocery store, it jumped to $11. Absolutely insane. And like, we're still dealing with extremely high prices on some things like coffee. But from what I've read, that's because of extreme drought over the last couple of years. But also the shrinkflation. Remember when coffee used to be 16 ounces per bag? Well, you won't find 16 ounces anymore. It's all 12 ounces now. And they're charging more for less. Same with ice cream and so on and so forth. All right, so Senator Jim Banks. 1 year ago, Donald Trump was sworn in again as president of the United States. In his historic first year, he has secured the southern border, taken the fight to the drug cartels, secured the largest tax cut in history, and made it permanent. And he's only getting started. I'm proud to support President Trump. I can't wait for another historic year. Hopefully, we'll see the end of a historic year with another one to come, 2027. But I guess the election will have to determine that. All right, Jim Rich says 1 year of securing wins for Idaho. They stopped the lava ridge, broke ground on the new Boise Veterans Home, protected women's sports, delivered the largest tax cut for working families, preserved the ROTC programs at University of Idaho and Idaho State University. Here's to another year of Idaho wins with the president. And from the Department of State, America's decline is over. Thanks to President Trump, we are facing the world with dignity, power, and strength. From brokering peace deals to increasing defense spending and securing the border, we are putting America first.
The golden age of America begins right now. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. We will be working to meet every crisis with dignity and power and strength.
The president has kept his promise to the American people. Let's start with the peace deals. India, Pakistan are ready to go to war. Cambodia and Thailand, Azerbaijan and Armenia, and of course Gaza.
The long and painful nightmare is finally over.
The president got NATO to increase their defense spending to 5%. We also helped secure the border, not just in the deals we made with other countries to send people back. We've got more countries than ever accepting their people that are in this country illegally from their countries. They're also helping us stop them from coming here in the first place. He's keeping us safe by taking the war to the drug cartels.
The United States
About damn time.
Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela.
Probably the most elaborate arrest warrant ever served.
Dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. From
hell, they used every branch
on,
of the military for that one.
America's decline is over.
Yep, God willing. And again, that was from the Department of State. And this is from Joni Ernst. And this is, and she says, in 1 year, President Trump has used Doge to save taxpayers billions. I'm proud to have partnered with the Trump administration to make Washington squeal and deliver real savings to hardworking taxpayers. And we're just getting started. Oh man, she got ratioed. Uh-oh. Did she get ratioed in a good way or a bad way? Okay, a lot of filibuster stuff, right? Yeah. Of course, because she's a senator. Passed the SAVE Act. We, the people, demand a vote. I mean, I'm sure that she's probably not paying attention to her X account. There's very few members of Congress that I imagine are actually occasionally looking at the comments. And honestly, the only one that comes to mind off the top of my head is Senator Mike Lee. He actually gets in arguments sometimes in the comments, actually. But I can't think of anybody else that actually proactively at least responds to their comments. I certainly wish that Republican senators would, because I'm sure they're like post after post, it's filled with this. Nuke the filibuster, pass the SAVE Act. We the people tired of all talk, no action. The pass of all Doge cuts into law, quit funding the GD Taliban, and pass the SAVE Act. Not really feeling the savings here. No, not really. I mean, to be honest, the tax cuts, they can only be done by adding to the deficit. I mean, that's really the only meaningful way that they could have cut our taxes, other than downsizing the government substantially, which was the whole point of Doge. That's probably why Elon Musk got angry with the Trump administration and Trump himself, just a few months into him heading up Doge, because like they made tons of cuts and they were doing incredible work. And I think some of it might have gotten codified somewhere along the way, maybe in the big, beautiful bill, but it wasn't good enough. And they cut taxes, which was great, but they only cut taxes by raising the ceiling of the deficit. It just didn't make any sense. I don't know, man. It's just freaking playing politics. It would just be nice for them to downsize it, enough to be able to give us those tax cuts and not have to add to our freaking deficit. All right, so pass the SAVE Act. How long has the SAVE Act been sitting on Leader John Thune's desk? Put it up for a vote now. Let's see who truly supports President Trump. Amen. Pass the SAVE Act, pass the SAVE Act. I mean, like, that's what they're all saying. They're all saying pass the SAVE Act. This is what everybody's telling the Senate to do. And nuke the filibuster. I would say if they honestly did nuke the filibuster, they don't have to nuke the filibuster, I don't think, to pass the SAVE Act, but maybe they do. I mean, yeah, it might require a 60 vote threshold. It honestly probably does. And, that still should be no excuse to not put it on the floor. At least put it on the floor so then you could show the country who's actually for secure elections and who are against it. Clearly, all the Democrats are going to be against it. Or they could just nuke the filibuster and then pass it. And I would say that'd be a virtual certainty that if they were to nuke the filibuster and they actually start passing what needs to be passed, what actually needs to be passed, and for President Trump to sign, I would call it a certainty. I mean, I would probably, I would honestly make a Vegas bet on it, frankly. All right, so U.S. Department of Labor, 1 year into his second term, President Trump remains the only 21st century president to ensure all net job growth goes to American-born workers. America first. With the B-2 Stealth, and that's probably the F-22 Raptor. And Rep. Keith Self, two presidents, 45 years apart, same mission, make America great again. Read my latest op-ed in Daily Signal here. Well, I will have a look at it if it's not paywalled. So, here, let me go ahead and click here so I can find the link, and we'll take a look at that. He's talking about Reagan, and we'll see what he has to say. 45 years later, President Trump is delivering on Reagan's promise. 1 year ago today, January 20th, 2025, President Trump was sworn in as the 47th president of the U.S. inside the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. Freezing winds and biting cold forced the ceremony indoors, echoing President Ronald Reagan's second inauguration in 1985, when temperatures plunged to 7 degrees Fahrenheit and the event moved to the same historic space. During both inaugurations, winter's fury became a powerful symbol for American resilience and unyielding resolve. I think it's actually not much warmer than that in D.C. today. Didn't it fall into like the single digits? I know this morning I woke up to frost on everybody's rooftops, and I haven't seen frost in about a year, usually in January. I mean, we don't see frost every year. I'd say maybe once every probably 3-4 years that we'll see frost for a single morning, but today was that morning. Anyway, during both inaugurations, winter's fury became a powerful symbol of American resilience and unyielding resolve. Just as Reagan initially launched his revolution in 1980, Trump has, in one transformative year, taken bold strides to renew his promise to make America great again and deliver real results for the American people. Under Trump's bold leadership, American sovereignty has been restored. The days of mass migration, open borders, and chaos are over. The administration has driven record removals. Over 2.5 million illegals have departed the country through deportations and a surge in voluntary self-departures, while border crossings are essentially non-existent. For 8 consecutive months, 0 illegal aliens have been released into the country, and the U.S. has achieved net negative migration for the first time in at least 5 decades. Native-born Americans are finally seeing historic employment gains, no longer displaced by cheap foreign labor or jobs shipped overseas. The deadly fentanyl flow has been curtailed significantly, saving countless lives. Communities are safer, and American jobs are returning to the homeland right where they belong. Like Reagan, Trump has rebuilt U.S. credibility on the world stage with a clear doctrine of peace through strength. Through decisive trade policies, targeted military actions like Operation Midnight Hammer, which struck key Iranian nuclear facilities in June of last year, In broader efforts to project resolve, America is once again a force for good, protecting our citizens and allies, national security, and vital interests, all without endless wars. At home, Trump and congressional Republicans secured historic tax relief through the Working Families Tax Cuts Act, also known as the One Big Beautiful Bill. Trump also made the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act permanent while adding new wins for working families, no taxes on tips or overtime pay, and meaningful relief for seniors, including provisions that effectively eliminate taxes on Social Security benefits for most recipients. Families in states like Texas stand to average tax cuts in the thousands of dollars annually starting this year. The act also eliminated more than $1.5 trillion in wasteful spending and ended reckless Green New Deal-style policies that burden the grid with unreliable energy. Instead, we've unleashed proven sources: oil, gas, coal, and nuclear. I'm telling you, man, it's all about nuclear. The payoff is clear. Gas prices have dropped to their lowest levels in nearly 5 years, putting billions back in Americans' pockets and making everyday life more affordable. 1 year in, Trump's decisive leadership has transformed promises into progress. Borders fortified and sovereignty reclaimed. American strength and respect restored on the global stage. Energy dominance unleashed, and hardworking families rightfully keeping more of what they earned through historic tax relief. While certain results, such as fully eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse, lowering inflation and mortgage rates even further, and completing the full identification and removal of all remaining illegal aliens, will take additional time. The proactive leadership driving these changes is already delivering clear, tangible gains across the board. 45 years after Reagan first declared it, Trump is making America great again, stronger, safer, and more prosperous. The foundation is firm, the momentum is unstoppable, and America's greatest chapter is just beginning. So there you go, from the Daily Signal, and actually from Keith Self, who actually wrote that op-ed, and it was not too bad. It was a pretty good one. And from Senator Mike Crapo on this first anniversary of President Trump's second inauguration, I am celebrating a year of historic wins for Idaho and the American people, from securing a 50-year low in illegal border crossings to passing the landmark Working Families tax cuts, saving families thousands of dollars and protecting millions of jobs. The Trump administration has hit the ground running with exceptional speed. This first year saw 417 appointee confirmations, 365 more than in Biden's first year. Beyond our borders, the arrest of Nicolas Maduro and the exclusion of UNRWA from the Gaza peace process show a renewed strength in putting America first in foreign policy. Here at home, we have secured the Secure Rural Schools program for our rural counties through 2026, passed a pay raise for our troops in the NDAA, and protected the beautiful Idaho landscapes by canceling the Lava Ridge Wind Project. As we reflect on these incredible milestones, I will continue working with the Trump administration to build an even stronger, more prosperous Idaho and nation in the years to come. And from Homeland Security, 1 year of making America safe again. Since taking office on January 20th, 2025, President Trump's first year has been nothing short of extraordinary, thanks to the men and women of DHS. Big number, man. 220,000 applications. Yeah, no shortage of people wanting to join. Hell yeah. Well, of course, the Democrats, they'll try to lead you to believe the exact opposite. But yeah, there's a massive surge in applicants trying to join Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which I've actually noticed. I think I just noticed yesterday. Most of the ICE officers that they're showing in videos, which ironically, most of these videos are filmed by leftists, they're not a bunch of white dudes. They're of all different races and colors, and like Asian, Hispanic. So I just find that kind of hilarious because, you know, like they're going to lead you to believe that, oh, they're just evil, misogynist, just xenophobic white men. All right, so Senate Republicans, Joe Biden and Democrats opened our border to millions of dangerous illegal aliens, but that ended 1 year ago when the president was sworn in. We'll continue to work with President Trump to keep the border secure and our community safe. Illegal aliens released into the U.S., Democrats versus Republicans. So fiscal year 2021, actually not too bad to start. And then 2022, it skyrocketed, unbelievably skyrocketed, over 1 million in 2023 alone. Frankly, I think that number is probably far higher than 1 million, probably 2-3 times, multiplied by 3. That's the real number. 2024, of course, and then when President Trump took over in 2025, it's dropped to virtually nil. I think what was it realistically? It was like 6,000 something for the entire year, somewhere around that. All right, so we're going to move on to a statement during the White House press conference or press briefing today. I believe that was when President Trump spoke, and I have the full video here, which I will show after these two highlights. I'd like to get through the highlights first because once the couple of highlights are done, then I'll play a minute or two of the opening statement as soon as I can find it, and then we'll just go from there. So rather than just read the whole quote, I'll just play the video. It's real short.
100% of net job creation was going to foreign migrants. Since my inauguration, 100% of the net jobs created have gone to American-born citizens. That's a big thing. In other words, we're now taking care of our people.
Yeah, it's huge. It's enormous because especially Gen Z and millennials, they're kind of freaking out with the job market because corporate America has been laying off mass layoffs like crazy with Microsoft and Amazon and definitely big tech. That's been ongoing for years at this point. What is it? Starbucks, I think, did a big round of layoffs. Like thousands of employees are getting laid off through Starbucks, and the list just goes on and on. So there's a lot of paranoia out there with younger Americans, and that's definitely nice to hear if everyday Americans and the younger generations even know that that's even happening, that we've got, like a surge in job availability because, they're being replaced with American workers, and that's a good thing. All right, so Homeland Security. Watch President Trump highlights the worst of the worst arrested by ICE in Minnesota. Under the leadership of President Trump and Secretary Noem, Department of Homeland Security law enforcement is removing the murderers, predators, fraudsters, drug traffickers from American communities.
Because Minnesota is so much in the fray, and I say to my people all the time, and they're so busy doing other things, they don't say it like.
Well, frankly, it's in every blue state. Minnesota, I don't think that it's special in terms of the fraud. Maybe they're probably leading the country in the amount of fraud that's been stolen from the taxpayers of all the other blue states. But I don't even think that's even true. I think California, I'm sure Minnesota pales in comparison. I just think that at this point, all eyes are on Minnesota and law enforcement and investigations from all kinds of departments, the Department of Treasury, the Small Business Administration, obviously the Department of Justice. I mean, pretty much everybody's in Minnesota right now just investigating their asses off, and I'm really glad that they are.
They should. They're apprehending murderers and drug dealers and a lot of bad people, and these are just some of the more recent ones that we have, and I can show you some of the people, vicious, many of them murderers. These are all out of Minnesota, just Minnesota. I say, why don't you talk about that more? Because people don't know. Do you want to live with these people?
Everyday Americans? No.
International murder. These are people that are they're apprehended and either put in jails in their country from where they came, or the countries respect us, and so they actually put them there.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that Democrats, they talk about building low-income housing and immigrant communities and so on, but they're not going to build them in those affluent areas. They're not going to build them in the suburbs. No, they're going to build them in the lowest of low-income housing areas, and that's where they want to put all of these people.
In the old
what about
days,
opening your house to them?
Country. Biden
of course they don't want to do that
because he let them all in. If you didn't have open border policies of Biden, none of this, all of the time that we spend talking about Minnesota and everything else,
money,
most of them are coming.
The billions
from
that's
out of
been
the
wasted,
and
just fighting all this shit.
It's been caused by a previous administration. Look at this, one after one. Boy, these are rough characters.
It's ridiculous, man.
These are all criminal,
Homeland Security getting tens of billions of dollars in funding to fight all this shit.
In many cases, they're murderers, they're drug lords.
Because the Biden administration opened the floodgates.
They're the mentally insane. There's some of them who are brutal killers. They're mentally insane. They're killers, but they're insane. These are just in Minnesota, California. It's worse. In other states, it's worse. No, Minnesota, the crime is incredible. The financial crimes are incredible.
Yeah, you know what President Trump really should do? That stack of paper that he's got of all these mugshots were probably in the last, week? Maybe the last couple of weeks. He should bring out the full stack of everyone that's been either charged or convicted of a crime that came into the United States illegally, flooded the border. I mean, the stack would probably be 6-7 inches thick, and that's probably just Minnesota. I mean, he ought to bring out all of them. Just wheel it out. Just show this massive, like 5 foot thick, just stack of mugshots. Well, here's all the criminal illegals that we've caught over the last couple of months.
And the problem is because of the
I mean, they really need to illustrate that to the American people. I think that would be quite profound.
They're paid agitators and insurrectionists. Nobody
of course,
talks
the red
about
lights
the
on
fact
the
that
fake news
$19
cameras
billion
have been
at a
instantly
minimum
shut
is
off.
Missing
As
in
Trump likes to put it.
Minnesota, given to a large degree by Somalians. They've taken it. Somalians, can you imagine? And they don't do it. A lot of very low IQ people, they don't do it. Other people work it out, and they get them money, and they go out and buy Mercedes-Benzes, and they come from here, they have no money.
Yeah, vacation homes in Africa.
They never had a life, they never had a government, they never had a country, because there's basically no country. Somalia is not even a country.
Yeah, dude, and these people are acting like they got nothing to lose, because they really don't. They don't have anything to lose. If you got nothing to lose, you'll do just about anything.
They don't have anything that resembles a country. And if it is a country, it's considered just about the worst in the world.
I'll say it's certainly not a stable one.
Rich, and they don't have a job. I was told that Ilhan Omar is worth $30 million. She never had a job.
She sure is.
She's a crooked congressman.
Ain't that hilarious?
So here you go.
Nothing's going to be done about it either.
And I have, oh, by the way, we just took out, that's what, these are all what ICE is doing. And it's a dangerous job. These are rough people. Weapons. This one here is very bad.
Yeah, and to the people in Minnesota, you really want these people to be living in your neighborhoods. You really want these criminals to be just existing in your community, and you want nothing to be done about it. In fact, you want to protect them. And it's just mind-boggling. I mean, I can't think of anything that would give you more ammunition to vote than this happening in your local area.
Place in Switzerland, where we'll be, I'm sure I'm very happily awaited for. In Switzerland, they don't know about this. They don't have this problem. They have other problems, but they don't have this problem.
Nope, I'm sure they don't.
Killed somebody. And these are rough people. These are not, this was all allowed into our country through open borders.
Yeah, these aren't innocent, undocumented American migrants, as the left likes to call them.
But to me, having an open border for the world to come in, drug dealers and prisoners, Venezuela, as an example, opened their prisons into the United States. That's
and their
why
mental institutions.
One of the reasons I felt so strongly against Venezuela. Now I'm loving Venezuela. They've been working with us so well. It's been so nice. And an unbelievably nice woman also did a very incredible thing, as you know, a few days ago. We're talking to her, and maybe we can get her involved in some way. I'd love to be able to do that. Maria, maybe we can do that. But we're dealing with the people and the president.
Oh, yeah, the Nobel Prize winner.
And all of the people in Venezuela, and we've been doing great. The oil companies are getting ready to make massive investments there. They have more oil than even Saudi Arabia. There you go.
That they do. And in the Western Hemisphere.
These are rough ones. This is all Minnesota, every one of them. This is one state out of many. And
sanctuary
these people are, let's see, these are all, so far, people that came from outside of the country. They were allowed in by Sleepy Joe Biden, Crooked Joe Biden, whichever you like. You can call him whatever you like. They're both right. He's sleepy and he's crooked.
Well, and not only that, but all these mugshots that he's showing were individuals that were arrested in Minnesota. They were put in jail, and then they were let out of jail before they gave ICE a chance to pick them up. All of these people, they all have orders for deportation or orders for removal, and Minnesota lets them out before ICE has a chance to pick them up. And currently, they have over 1,000 sitting in jail right now, whether if they have a bond or if they're held without bond, whatever the case is, they committed a crime in Minnesota, so they're stuck in jail. However, Minnesota won't release them to ICE. They're absolutely refusing to do so. Over 1,000.
The worst president we've ever had, and we've had some bad ones too.
Which, by the way, Minnesota taxpayers are paying for them being housed in jail. By the way. Is it probably $30,000, $40,000 a year per inmate?
But these are people that you have to see.
I'm sure their jails are overcrowded. Of course they are.
Strong arm rape.
But they wouldn't be overcrowded if we just let them out, which they do.
Many other crimes.
Oh man, he's gonna flip through one after the next. This video is a lot longer than I thought it was. It's 12 minutes. I don't know if I'm gonna get to the end of it, but I will repost it if I don't.
These are tough people.
Yeah, there is a lot to get through tonight.
So this is what the people are trying to protect, because all ICE wants to do is get them out of our country.
Yeah, that's their only job.
To prisons and jails and mental institutions from where they came. That's all they want to do.
Yeah, they just want to enforce the law. That's what they're there for.
Abused by guys like Don Lemon, who's a loser, lightweight.
He's
I
a
saw
moron.
him the way he walked in that
low
church.
IQ.
It was terrible. I have such respect for that pastor. He was so calm. He was so nice. He was just accosted. What they did in that church was horrible yesterday.
Yeah, you got Don Lemon on the streets doing whatever, like his version of jaywalking that Jay Leno used to do, going around interviewing people and saying things like, crossing the border isn't a crime. Crossing the border is just a minor infraction. It's not a felony. It's not. Well, it's like a very minor misdemeanor or something like that. And he had people just arguing against him, like, dude, it is a crime. Like even if it is something like a misdemeanor, it's still a crime. It's still a crime, Don Lemon.
Look at it here. 24 convictions. 24 times convicted.
Wow. 24.
They're not charges. These are convictions. So he comes from outside the country. Do you think he's going to be good here?
No, and the thing is, he's probably had an order for removal for like 15, 20 years, but he's been sitting in a sanctuary city where they're not going to deport him. So he gets arrested, he goes to jail, he does his time, whatever. The judge probably, I don't know, well, convicted means that he's convicted, so the judge didn't drop charges. But I mean, I can only imagine how many times the judge probably dropped charges on other offenses that he was accused of doing, and they just let him out. So he's probably been, probably had an order on him for years and years, and they just keep breaking the law over and over again.
Convicted 24 times, he's going to be good here, right? It doesn't work that way. He's a man.
Or maybe he was convicted in the country he came from.
One of many.
I'm sure often it's both.
All they want to do is get him out. They want to take him out of our country.
Yeah.
And
why is that a bad thing?
Paid agitators and insurrectionists, troublemakers, they're paid. When the woman was shot, and I felt terribly about that. And I understand both sides of it. But when she was shot, there was another woman that was screaming shame, 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 right? You saw it. So
and
loud.
Also F you and
like
so on.
A professional opera singer. She was so loud and so professional.
Oh,
she
wow.
wasn't a woman that was hurt, like, oh, my heart's injured. She was a professional.
Yeah, no matter what. She was there to agitate.
She's screaming, shame, shame. I said, that's not a normal person. That's
they're
a
psychos.
These are professional agitators and professional people that want to see our country do badly.
Well, let's see him brought up on charges,
man.
man.
The hottest country anywhere in the world.
Let's see him get indicted.
Look at this.
I mean, all these organizations, these whether they're like NGOs or nonprofits or activist organizations, they say the Department of Justice says that they're investigating. The FBI said that they're investigating these organizations. I mean, where's the movement on it? I mean, are indictments getting rolled out? I mean, are they going to start parading them, in front of the cameras? Are we going to at least see mugshots like what President Trump's showing? I want to see Kash Patel here at the podium showing us all of these images of all of these activist organization leaders that have been funneling money into all of these campaigns of obstruction and assaulting federal agents.
All top of the line criminals.
I guess any day now, hopefully.
They're not going to be well behaved here. I could do thousands. We had over 3,000 in the last fairly short while. Just in Minnesota. What's the number, Carol? 10,000.
10,000.
10,000. And these are serious criminals. Now, how can a place with 10,000 criminals, how can you have a state?
Well, are they even reporting these crimes? You would think with all these criminals that Minneapolis, their crime rate would be like twice as bad as Chicago, and maybe it is. But I'm sure just like the policies with DC with crime reporting statistics, they they pretty much eliminated a lot of the violent crimes that they would use for their statistics, downplaying them, making them sound like that they're not even violent crimes, so they wouldn't even consider those crimes for the statistics they were gathering that data for. And it's probably the same thing that's happening in Minnesota,
and yet they're
too.
Fighting us. Yeah, I like that guy. Keeps nodding to me. Do you agree with me, I guess? I like him. I don't know who he is, but I like him. He keeps nodding. He says, you're right. He's obviously a little on the right side, maybe. Look. These are rough ones. So we just took this off a stack. We have many stacks like this. Like, I could go 30 times what I'm showing you now.
Oh, probably 300 times that stack. I mean, what is that, maybe 100 there?
Relations with Hezbollah, that's nice. Why do we allow them in our country?
It's all about their congressional seats in the sanctuary state. That's all they care about.
I'm just looking at these charges.
Their lust for power.
Pretty incredible. Many murderers, many murderers. People that murdered.
All right. So I'll go ahead and cut it there. It goes on for another couple of minutes. I imagine he's probably going to show the rest of the stack that he's got. He probably has like 10, 15 left. But I'll repost it if you want to see the last couple of minutes. I'll give that a repost. There's a direct link to my profile down in the description. So it should be up near the top if you decide to go there. Or you can go to, what was it? Department of State? No. Homeland Security. DHS Gov. That's where that is their handle. And they'll have it directly there too. Posted, when was that? 3:19 p.m. today. So I'll go ahead and skip this. And I'll also repost that also, since I spent so much time with that one. Let me just take a quick look.
Of what we've produced.
Okay, so indeed, President Trump was speaking at this at the White House press briefing for today for a long time, man. Was he here for the whole time?
Really appreciate it, sir.
So 2 hours and 30 minutes. Oh, I'd really love to hear that Q&A. I'm definitely gonna have to listen to that. So yeah, he was up there for 2 hours, almost 2 hours, man. Absolutely incredible. I mean, how often did Joe Biden give a 2-hour press briefing? Never. Probably didn't even give a full hour in probably any case when he was president. All right, so we'll move on to Energy and Commerce Committee. Must read, House Commerce is investigating massive fraud schemes in Minnesota's social services programs. We will not stop until we root out all of the waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer dollars. That's going to be on foxnews.com. Congress opens industrial scale fraud probe in Minnesota. Warns Walt's demands are just the beginning. And let me just take a look here. Minnesota leaders impeding law enforcement. Okay, so that may not be related. Sometimes those videos are, sometimes they're not. Minnesota is going to be the first state that will be in the crosshairs of a groundbreaking and comprehensive congressional investigation into systemic social services fraud, waste, and abuse, House Energy and Commerce Committee Chairman Brett Guthrie told Fox News Digital. Guthrie's panel is demanding audits, provider records, fraud referrals, and internal communications dating back several years, signaling a deep dive into whether state officials ignored warnings or allowed fraud to flourish. Of course they did. They absolutely did. While working with a major HHS sub-agency to help look into misuse of taxpayer dollars at a wide scale. So I don't know if it was at this committee, the House Energy and Commerce, or if it was a different committee, but I showed right here on the Swamp about maybe 3-4 weeks ago, there was some official from Minnesota. I'm not sure which official he was. I think he might have been like a state representative or something, but he spoke before Congress 10 years ago and said that the fraud was out of control. So that this is not something that just recently started happening in the last couple of years. It's been going on for over a decade. So, all right. So anyway, the extensive fraud schemes being perpetrated in Minnesota have wreaked havoc on government-funded health programs. The committee told Fox via a joint statement from Guthrie and Reps John Joyce of Pennsylvania and Morgan Griffith of Virginia, both of whom are Republicans. This video might be, maybe it is, maybe it's not. Anyway, I'll just keep up with this. This will be linked anyway down below if you want to check that out. We have an obligation to ensure finite taxpayer dollars are being used responsibly and that most vulnerable Americans are not being exploited to the benefit of fraudsters and foreign actors, Guthrie, Joyce, and Griffith added. This letter is the next step in the committee's work to root out fraud and restore program integrity in our federal health programs nationwide. A source familiar with the investigation said Minnesota is likely only the beginning of federal intervention into what the committee dubbed industrial-scale fraud within particularly state-administered Medicaid programs. I mean, again, dude, tens of billions of dollars. I mean, what's the latest number? $19 billion. I think it's 18 billion, but still, 18,000 million dollars in fraud that's been stolen from taxpayers in just Minnesota alone. It's an absolutely absurd number in the billions. I mean, like if something like that was uncovered, like let's say like back in the 1990s or in the 2000s, it would be like the absolute biggest like bombshell, a catastrophic event to have ever happened in the government. Well, not ever, but at least in recent history. I mean, we would not hear the end of it. It would have been just beyond belief. So anyway, staff on Guthrie's committee were also party to recent briefings with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and the Justice Department. In its letters to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minnesota Human Services Temporary Commissioner Shireen Gandhi, the committee said the land of 10,000 lakes is also under investigation by CMS, led by Administrator Mendman Oz, on a number of fronts. As Oz's office conducts its own review, Guthrie is demanding Walz turn over extensive records and written answers on the current integrity and federally funded programs, including steps being taken to stop millions in fraudulent payments flowing out of Minnesota. By the end of the month, Walz will also be expected to explain what measures have been put in place since 2019 to detect fraud, waste, and abuse, and what enhancements have been made over the past year as the scandal came to the fore. The committee also demanded to know what types of audits Medicaid-related programs are undergoing, the process for making criminal referrals for suspected fraud, what Gandhi's agency is doing to sanction or disenroll fraudulent providers, and how the state vets Medicaid service providers for compliance with federal law. Let's see. So that's an audio of Minnesota AG Keith Ellison meeting with convicted fraudsters. Yeah, I actually showed this on the Swamp a few weeks ago also. I definitely remember that happening. Definitely didn't believe that, he definitely didn't have knowledge that he was being recorded, to say the least. So, quote, is DHS, the Minnesota Department of Human Services, revalidating all Medicaid providers amid recent state and federal indictments and prosecutions of fraud? If so, please provide details of any relevant documentation regarding this process and the status of those efforts. Does DHS collect data on Medicaid programs with abnormal or statistically significant increases in provider enrollment or claims over time, including programs which greatly exceeded their estimated cost upon enactment? By the end of the month, the committee is seeking to compel Walz to turn over all audits conducted that relate to 14 social services programs that the state previously deemed to be prone to high-risk provider types, or as some critics would say, ripe for use by fraudulent medical service providers. Some of the programs identified include adult companion services, mental health and rehab services, quote-unquote community first services, night supervision services, and recuperative care. Guthrie, Joyce, and Griffith are also seeking all communications between Walz, his staff, and State Medicaid Commissioner John Connolly. I somehow doubt they're going to get any of this. I'm sure they probably, they're either actively destroying it now or it's probably long gone. But maybe not. Let's hope not. The swath of criminal schemes coming to light in Minnesota include overbilling, false records, identity theft, and phantom claims in Medicaid, social service, and health programs for the elderly and disabled, people struggling with addiction and homelessness, Guthrie wrote to Walz. The committee also claimed that the whistleblowers were willfully ignored or had their concerns suppressed by the Walz administration, while those who tried to report fraud faced retaliation. Yeah, dude, somebody's going to get in hot water over that, too. All right, so here, let me finish it up. It also identified a handful of programs that had lower barriers to entry and therefore would be attractive for fraudulent usage. Guthrie said the 14 high-risk social services programs cost Minnesota nearly $4 billion in state and federal tax dollars. Ensuring Medicaid program integrity is critical to preserving access to vital health care services for those that need it most, the letter read. Every dollar stolen from the Medicaid program by fraudsters is taken from children, pregnant women, the elderly, and people with disabilities. Fox News Digital reached out to Walz for comment, and of course they're never going to get one. They're never going to get a comment from Walz. Let me just take a quick look at this and see if it's just that recording or if it's, it's over 5 minutes long. I'm sure they play the recording in that segment, but that's too long to devote 5 minutes to that, at least right now. But anyway, this article will be linked if you want to hear that call with Attorney General Ellison from Minnesota. All right, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. California issued a CDL to a criminal illegal alien from India, and Delilah Coleman's childhood was changed forever. I just talked about this yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. The illegal alien semi-trucker caused a multi-vehicle pileup, critically injuring Delilah when she was just 5 years old. ICE works 24/7, 365 to prevent tragedies just like this.
One story. In 2024, an illegal immigrant from India caused a multi-car pileup while driving a commercial 18-wheeler in California with a CDL issued from, I'm sure you would have guessed, California. That crash critically injuring then 5-year-old Delilah Coleman, leaving her in a coma for 3 weeks and interfering with her ability to walk, talk, eat, or go to kindergarten. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy highlighting the story on X just yesterday.
God, man, it's heartbreaking.
This beautiful girl, Delilah
I don't
Coleman,
know what I would do.
With
That would just
life-altering
be
injuries after a
parents' worst
criminal
nightmare.
illegal immigrant caused a wreck while operating a truck he should never have had a license to drive. California's weak leadership is failing Americans like Delilah every day. My prayers are with her and her family. This driver is just one of the many who have wreaked havoc on America's roadways, with many more occurring after the wreck that injured Delilah. Her family is calling out Governor Gavin Newsom.
Well, look, and it's not that these deadly crashes are happening every day. Specifically, it's the possibility, the risk of it potentially happening any day or to anybody.
For failed leadership. Delilah Coleman is now 7 years old. As a result of this accident, she is now nonverbal and relearning how to walk, and she joins me right now alongside with her father.
Wow, they brought him
Marcus Coleman.
onto the show.
They're here to share
Holy
their
cow.
story. Thank you both for being with us here today. Delilah, you look beautiful.
I would say she looks
Marcus,
good.
Thank you for being with us here today. Let's start with, how is Delilah today? How is she feeling? How is she recuperating?
Delilah's doing good. Just picked her up from school today so she can join us during this segment right now. And right now she's going through intensive therapy.
It looks like a miracle,
for 3
honestly.
weeks. She does 2 hours a day for the past 10 days already. This is her last week right now, and then she goes back to her regular 2 to 3 times a week. So she's doing pretty well.
That's
still
good,
having,
man. That's good to
a
hear.
long road to recovery ahead of us.
Now, that's some good
Hope for a
signs.
full
I
recovery.
understand the long road to recovery ahead of you. Delilah, I don't know that you can hear me, but I'm happy you got to skip a little bit of school today to join us here on national television. Thank you for being with us here today. Marcus, you have been you've been vocal about this issue, about what happened to Delilah and the leadership in
Correct.
California. I know you took note recently with
Well,
a
yeah,
proposal
what
in
father wouldn't?
California, this time by Eric Swalwell, but to take licenses away from ICE agents in a state where illegal immigrants get commercial driver's license. And of course, we know what happened to Delilah.
Of course, yeah. I think they're trying to do what's going to favor them in the long run, no matter how many people it hurts. When Delilah's accident first happened, I reached out to the governor's office via phone as well as email. I received
There's
nothing
no way
back
they
at
talked
all.
to him.
At this point, we've kind of been left hung out to dry to kind of fend for ourselves as far as everything goes, including her therapies. We applied for Social Security, got denied for that. Government assistance, got denied for that. And right now it's just kind of left up to us to sit there and take care of what we need to take care of.
I mean, of course, it is based on income. I don't know what he does for a living. He might do pretty well, even though a situation like this would bankrupt almost any family.
Truck driver myself. Delilah's been truck
Okay, he's a
driving
truck
with me
driver.
since she was born, pretty much. She's been to all 48 states, and now, since her accident, I had to stop truck driving. Now I'm here, trying to make things, and basically trying to make ends meet to satisfy her needs. And even then, we're still falling short, and there's nobody there to help us with it.
Marcus, you're a truck driver yourself. You're familiar with this situation. You're familiar with the CDL. You're familiar with the roadways.
It's funny somebody didn't run a GoFundMe for him.
And of course, now this tragic accident that has involved
It's
your
usually
daughter.
what happens these days.
What you think about the lack of regulation, the permissiveness of putting these CDLs into the hands of people, in many cases, who cannot even speak English?
Yeah, it's gross negligence, to be honest with you. It'd be equal to
Well, it
giving
affects his paycheck,
a
too.
15-year-old a driver license and allowing them to operate, just regularly without any regulations or understanding of the law. California passed a law a while back allowing 18-year-olds to get CDL driver license, which is just ridiculous. Even 21-year-olds, there's a lot of insurance companies that won't insure anybody who's under 25. So
Yeah,
to get
I
a
would
CDL at 21 years old,
Surprised
alone
California
is
didn't
already,
mandate that they
in
had
my
to.
opinion, pretty neglectful to allow somebody who's 18 years old, not understanding the true ways of the roadway, having any experience at all, to operate an 80,000-pound vehicle on roadways is extremely gross negligence. And here in California, they allow that. They passed that law because they said that there's a shortage of truck drivers. There's not a shortage of truck drivers. There's never been a shortage of truck drivers. There's been a shortage of companies that are willing to pay truck drivers what truck drivers deserve.
Yeah,
and now
well
that
said.
we have illegal immigrants coming into the U.S. and that are willing to take lower rates,
right
now there's a shortage of truck drivers because all these companies are seeing that people are willing to get paid less to drive. So now they're lowering their rates and nobody wants to do it. When I first started truck driving, we were getting paid somewhere around 45 to 50 cents a mile, and that was back in 2017. And it was going up, and then all of a sudden it just dropped big time. So when I capped out, I was about 70 cents a mile, 75 cents a mile, and now everybody's down to like 48 and 50 cents a mile, and sometimes even lower than that. And that has to do with the immigration.
What incredible insight. Thank you for sharing that with us, Marcus.
Yeah, I wasn't aware
My
what the
last
mileage
question
was
for you
either.
Is, if I understood you correctly, you have not yet heard
And that's California.
From California leadership, not from the governor, regarding
I can only imagine in
Delilah's
other states.
tragic accident. What
Probably
would be
like
your
20
message?
cents a mile.
Since you haven't been able to speak to them directly, what would be your message for the governor and other political leadership of California?
Do your damn jobs.
So to cover the first part of that question, we have not heard from the governor. We did hear from the governor when DHS posted Delilah's story first back in September, October, somewhere around then. And they posted her story about the accident. The first thing he said was California did not issue him a CDL. The federal government did. And he posted that right under my daughter's story.
Oh, good grief.
Neglected
I don't think the federal government issues them.
Didn't even acknowledge the fact
the
that she was
government has
involved in the vehicle
oversight.
accident. He just went right over it and went straight for Trump and Secretary Noem.
Yeah, of course.
My message to him would be pay
All the
attention to
Democrats
your
are good
people
for
here
these days.
in California.
Everything
We're
Trump.
the ones that should matter. I shouldn't have to be reaching out to anybody else to help us when he's here in California.
No, man, they serve
He's
you.
the only person that I should reach out to. When my kids have a problem, my kids come talk to me. They don't go talk to the neighbor. They don't go talk to the people across the street or talk to the people at school. They come to me. And Newsom's responsible for California. I should have went to him. He should have handled this. I shouldn't have to reach out to anybody else. And now I'm having to step toe over him to get the results that I'm getting now when I should have gotten them from him to begin with.
100%.
Wow. Marcus,
Crazy.
thank you so much for everything you've articulated to us here today.
Yeah, absolutely crazy, man. It's just ridiculous. And I believe that it was probably a couple of months ago, but I'm pretty sure that I came across an interview that they did a few months ago, because I believe that his wife was there with them too, if memory serves. So yeah, they've been on the news quite a bit over it, and that's good. I mean, that's great that Fox News is giving them a platform, because a lot of people watch Fox News. So definitely a good thing. All right, so yeah, hopefully she makes a full recovery. Anyway, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement from just 5 hours ago, live at CBP and ICE hold a joint press conference on immigration enforcement operations underway in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I figured I'd start with this, and I've got a couple of highlights, just like I did with President Trump, only with this one. I decided to go with the full one first.
Minneapolis,
see if we can get the opening remarks.
Negotiable. When violent criminals exploit gaps in enforcement, gaps at that state and local level most especially, federal law enforcement has a responsibility to act. That is why we are here, and that is what this operation is about. Our operations are lawful, they're targeted, and they're focused on individuals who pose a serious threat to this community. They are not random, and they are not political. They are about removing criminals who are actively harming Minneapolis neighborhoods. For too long, residents have been told
Hey, there we go.
that enforcement.
I was 2 seconds away from saying that I can't hear it, because it was only coming in one side. It was coming in on the left side. At least I think it's on the left side. But I'm half deaf. My left ear doesn't work. So I've got a headset, but I've only got one earbud, because I've always had the habit of just cutting off the left one because I never use it. So, and I'm going to get a new headset because, it's just not going to fly with this, because this isn't the first time this has happened to me where the sound's only coming in on one side and I can't hear it. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to be ordering a new headset so that way I can hear it better. But I'm glad that he cut in, because I was literally like 2 seconds from just reposting this and saying, all right, I'm just going to have to move on because I can't hear anything. So anyway.
Immigration laws undermines public safety. In reality, the opposite is true. When the law is not enforced, violent offenders remain free. Criminal networks expand, and the community pays the price. Our neighbors, our citizens, our friends pay the price. Rather than confront that reality of which I've just spoken, leaders like Tim Walz or Mayor Fry have relied on heated rhetoric and accusations that distract from the facts. The facts are that federal agents are arresting murderers, rapists, child predators, cartel-connected criminals, and other individuals who pose a real danger to the people of Minneapolis. As these operations began and since, there have been constant attempts to interfere with lawful enforcement of our nation's Title VIII immigration laws here in Minneapolis.
Yep.
Officers have been violently and aggressively assaulted, objects have been thrown, and vehicles damaged. Despite that violence, enforcement has continued unabated.
Good.
Our officers remain professional, focused, courteous, and committed to the mission. That mission, again, being Title VIII immigration enforcement. This effort reflects a coordinated federal approach. Agencies are working together under Title VIII authorities. Agencies like the United States Border Patrol, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and many other allied law enforcement agencies, FBI, DEA, ATF, and many others have came together under this operation, under this umbrella. We share intelligence and execute operations in a unified manner. That coordination is essential to effective enforcement and public safety. Since the start of this operation, we've arrested some of the most dangerous criminal offenders operating
over 10,000?
in Minnesota. In the entire state of Minnesota, we have arrested some of the most violent criminal offenders right here in this city.
Yep, not so much
These
as a friggin' thank you.
These are not minor violators or minor garden variety criminals. These are repeat offenders with serious criminal histories. Now, folks,
God, this video sucks, man.
I
It's quality.
Came here today. I
not on
printed
my
out
end.
a couple of a few individuals that I'd like to share with you. Individuals that were arrested since yesterday. These 3 individuals were arrested just since yesterday. Keep in mind now, these individuals were walking the streets of Minneapolis with impunity.
Yeah, of course they were.
As of yesterday.
Yeah, by the way, if you live in Minneapolis and you hear this, I hope you're voting. I certainly hope that you're voting come November. Look, I don't know exactly when Governor Walz is coming up for re-election. I mean, he did announce that he's not going to run again, obviously. The same with like Mayor Jacob Fry. I don't know when he's up for re-election. Of course, like local level, it's different than on the federal level. At least sometimes it can be. You know, there's just different times when there's different elections. I think like my local city, that the mayor's election's in March. So, I mean, it could be who knows when. I just hope that people are just paying attention to what's going on because, I mean, this is insanity.
Ovai Kumaye, a criminal illegal alien from Laos, a registered sex offender, convicted of sex offense against a child, including fondling and failure to register as a sex offender. This individual was walking the streets of Minneapolis just yesterday. This individual right here.
Yeah, and how many crimes has he committed that he was never caught for? I mean, did he snatch anybody up off the street over the last year, the last month? I mean, who knows?
It's very interesting that I haven't seen this individual or many others like him reported on very
And he probably
much
preys
by
on immigrant children.
the local news media or the state news media. That's
Which, by the way, how many immigrant children are still missing today? Over 300,000. Over 300,000 minor children who are undocumented are still missing in the United States because Joe Biden just let them all in. We have no clue where they are. Not a clue. But yeah, we've got people like this walking around.
That's
crazy.
Wait, let's don't quit there. No, you can't. Let's continue here. We've got Samuel Aravelo Hernandez, a criminal illegal alien from Guatemala, charged with rape and lewd or lascivious acts with a minor. Now, think about that for just a second. Rape, and then on top of that, lewd and lascivious acts with a minor. This individual was walking the streets of Minneapolis with impunity just yesterday. Let's don't quit there. Let's keep on there. We've got
what's the left going to say?
Gomez,
No, they're not.
Illegal alien.
No, that's just
from Honduras,
AI, dude.
Previously arrested for criminal sexual conduct and domestic assault. Other convictions include disorderly conduct and driving under the influence of liquor. Walking the streets as of yesterday. These are just three that I decided to print out. There's a whole stack of them. There's a whole stack of these.
Show the stack,
As a
man.
matter of fact,
do what President Trump
when we
did.
look over the past year at the 10,000 that have been arrested here in Minneapolis and Minnesota, that
10,000.
stack is enormous.
Well, 10,000 deep. That's what he should have brought. He should have brought a stack of 10,000. Look, and look, there's been politicians, there's been people who've done that before. Like they've wheeled in just boxes and boxes of documents illustrating, the sheer amount of volume of whatever it is that they're displaying. I think in one instance they were showing one of those like super omnibus bills. I think it was like during the Obama administration. They actually like wheeled this card in that had like thousands of pages and like this is the bill that they want us to pass. They should do the same thing. They should wheel in 10,000 pages worth. I mean, they could be blank. Maybe just put a few mugshots on the top and then just actually show this massive stack and like, look, 10,000 individual cases right here. And I don't know, man. I just think that would actually just illustrate it more profoundly.
On individuals who escalate situations and endanger others. Again, our neighbors, our friends, our colleagues, and Ma and Pa America. This is exactly why interior enforcement exists, to remove dangerous criminals from our communities, remove dangerous illegal alien criminals from our communities. It's also important, folks, to address a point that's often overlooked. Interior enforcement does not exist in isolation. It's not just about interior enforcement. It's a dichotomy here. It's interior enforcement and border enforcement. What happens in Minneapolis is directly connected at what happens at our borders. Interior enforcement and border enforcement, border security, are intricately connected. For years, federal law enforcement was placed in a defensive posture, especially over those past 4 years. Agents were overwhelmed, processing massive numbers of illegal aliens coming into the country, often with limited vetting, minimal accountability, and few consequences. I think that's proven right here just by those three that I held up there.
And next time he gives this press conference, print off all 10,000.
Time and resources that should have been dedicated to public safety were diverted to administrative processing, and criminal organizations exploited that environment. Over the past year, under the leadership of our President, Donald J. Trump, and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, that dynamic has changed. It's changed radically. It's changed more than I've ever seen in my over 3 decades in law enforcement.
Yep, and Democrats
Border
hate
enforcement
it.
has reached
they
historic
pissed.
levels. I actually
They're
called back
watching
to
their
my home
constituents
sector in El Centro
disappear.
today. They had one apprehension over the past 24 hours. One along
Which aren't
the
even their
70-mile
constituents. They're
stretch-
freaking
75-mile
illegals, for
stretch of
crying out
border
loud.
in El Centro alone.
Of course, Democrats
Last week,
don't
there
see
were
it that
several
way.
days where they had 0 border crossers in that sector. That's the same thing across all 20 Border Patrol sectors. Very few crossings. Illegal crossings have dropped to record lows. Catch and release is ended. Consequences have been restored. Again, consequences restored. Because the border is now secure, law enforcement can do its job more effectively. Agents are no longer tied up processing and releasing individuals into the interior.
Yep.
Individuals that we
Insane.
just talked about.
Millions.
They can focus on who is coming into
Under
this
Biden.
country, and just as importantly, identifying and removing those who should not be here.
Okay, well, I just have to. I have to stop it here because I'm already getting to an hour and a half and I still have a lot to get through, but I already did repost it, but let me just repost it just so it's at the top. And again, direct link to my profile in the description below. If you want to take a look, or it's at Homeland Security. Yeah, it looks like Homeland Security posted this initially, and then U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they posted it as well, which was at 3:44 p.m. today, January the 20th. And so I'll play, let me see how long these are. Okay, so let me give this one a play, and we'll see if we already heard this or
Our
not.
operations are lawful, they're targeted, and they're focused on individuals who pose a serious threat to this community. They are not random. and they are not political. They are about removing criminals who are actively harming Minneapolis neighborhoods. For too long, residents have been told that enforcing our nation's immigration laws undermines public safety. In reality,
That's retarded.
The opposite is true. When the law is not enforced, violent offenders remain free. Criminal networks expand, and the community pays the price. Our neighbors, our citizens, our friends pay the price. Rather than confront that reality of which I've just spoken, leaders like Tim Walz or Mayor Fry have relied on heated rhetoric and accusations that distract from the facts. The facts are that federal agents are arresting murderers, rapists, child predators, cartel-connected criminals, and other individuals who pose a real danger to the people of Minneapolis.
Okay, and we got this one: arrested since yesterday in Minnesota, convicted child S predator from Laos. Okay, so we already went through that, and he did show those three, so I'll go ahead and skip that one. And we'll move on to Homeland Security. These photos were taken either directly following operations or inside the Whipple Federal Building at St. Paul, Minnesota during processing following their arrest by federal agents. You know, the building your violent mob riots outside of every night in support of these criminals, and they're responding to Ilhan Omar. This would be amazing if it wasn't full of lies and propaganda. The only reason she has photos of these criminals in prison is because they were already in prison. Stop terrorizing people with your fake PR about criminals in Minneapolis because the only people on the streets of Minneapolis you are arresting are law-abiding citizens. That's full-on gaslighting. And Secretary Kristi Noem, Peace and Public Safety in Minneapolis. We have arrested over 10,000 criminal illegal aliens who were killing Americans, hurting children, and raining terror in Minneapolis because Tim Walz and Jacob Frey refused to protect their own people and instead protect criminals. In the last 6 weeks, our brave DHS law enforcement have arrested 3,000 criminal illegal aliens, including vicious murderers, rapists, child pedos, and incredibly dangerous individuals. I said the R word. Uh-oh. Sorry, YouTube. A huge victory for public safety. There is massive fraud in Minneapolis, at least $19 billion, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Our Homeland Security investigators are on the ground in Minneapolis conducting wide-scale investigations to get justice for the American people who have been robbed blind to make America safe again. And I might have actually read that yesterday, but that's okay. I just read it again. And we'll roll on to the next, to the next, to the next. U.S. Immigration, Customs Enforcement. I'm going to probably have quite a few from them as I have lately. This is who sanctuary city politicians and anti-ICE agitators are defending. Cottonwood County, Minnesota refused to honor our detainer for this alleged child S predator. ICE still arrested him. Criminal illegal Samuel Eduardo Arevalo Hernandez, Guatemala, charged with 2 counts of third-degree penetration of a child between the ages of 14 and 15. Insane. Oh, man, they got a video here, too. So that's who they arrested. A child predator, Minnesota. Child predator. One of 10,000 that they've gotten so far. I mean, how many are still outstanding? I mean, that's a number I would have liked to have heard. I mean, okay, so they've gotten 10,000 so far, so they got like, what, 50,000 left? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Okay, so these are, it looks like these are just comments. So, all right, so we'll head on to the next. And from Secretary Kristi Noem, the work of DHS law enforcement never stops. Over the weekend in Minneapolis, the heroes of ICE arrested more murderers, R-worders, gang members, and perpetrators of fraud. A huge victory for public safety. We've arrested over 10,000 criminal illegal aliens in Minneapolis, because Tim Walz and Jacob Frey refused to protect their own people. So that's 10,000 just in Minneapolis. That's not the entire state of Minnesota. I thought that was the whole state of Minnesota. That's only Minneapolis. So, I mean, I'm sure St. Paul probably has a number probably in the thousands. All right, arresting the wicked. Under the leadership of President Trump, Secretary Noem, DHS and ICE have hunted evildoers without rest. Take a look at some of this year's worst of the worst. No criminal illegal alien is safe. I don't know if I've heard the word evildoer since George W. Bush.
She looked at me and this is what she said. Oh, there ain't no rest for the wicked.
All right, whatever. It's going to be copyrighted, so I might as well just stop that right away, even though I'm sure that YouTube already caught it. Seems like YouTube is flagging for copyright after like 2 seconds. So, all right. Anyway, just one after the next. I think President Trump already illustrated that quite clearly during his remarks while he was at the press briefing at the White House. Rapid Response 47, real Tom Homan, the border czar. This individual matched the description of a target, but they couldn't verify his identity because he was uncooperative. So ICE detained him until they found out who he was. ICE can detain a U.S. citizen if they have probable cause that this person may have committed a crime. And I covered this yesterday. If you watched The Swamp yesterday, then you'll be familiar with this. The activists, Democrats included, they were suggesting, or not, they weren't suggesting, that they were full on gaslighting people into believing this guy was dragged. He was horrifically dragged out of his house by the evil ICE officers. And so let's just see if he was actually dragged out. Let's take a look.
So ICE was looking for 2 illegal aliens.
Yeah, not
with
dragged
criminal
out.
convictions.
Not at all.
One, sexual assault of a
Gently
child.
escorted
The
out.
other one, domestic violence, to include obscenity and sexual assault. So both these people shouldn't be walking the streets of this nation. So ICE did a target enforcement operation, pulled over a vehicle that was licensed to one of these sexual predators. The driver of the car was identified as not being one of them. But his statement to the officer was, the guy you're looking for is at the house right now. I left it. I just left that house. So
that would
ICE
be
went
probable
to
cause.
the house where these 2 people reportedly living. And they went in there and they located this individual. This individual who matched the description, but they couldn't verify his identity because he was uncooperative. He failed to do a quick fingerprint check. He failed to do facial recognition.
Oh, yeah, they've got those little
ICE
handheld devices where you can stick your
detained him
fingerprint on
until
it.
they found out who he was. And let's make it clear. ICE can detain a U.S. citizen if they have probable cause of this person may have committed a crime. Detainment, short detainment.
Well, even local police,
questioning,
any
all you
law
need is
enforcement can do
reasonable
that.
Suspicion.
I was
If they're
gonna
going to
say,
actually
Tom.
arrest a person and charge them, they need probable cause.
Yeah, it's called detaining. I mean, they could detain anybody if they have probable cause. And if you don't believe that they had probable cause, well, that's what the court system's for now, isn't it? All right, New York Post, ICE detains U.S. citizen in his underwear during targeted operation searching for S offenders in Minnesota. I'll link it. I did go over this yesterday. I'm sure that they've got, yeah, here it is. So I already went over this yesterday, so I will do the very least and link this if you want to check that out below. ICE detains U.S. citizen in his underwear during targeted operation searching for S offenders in Minnesota. I mean, dude, they could have at least put a jacket on him, but all right. Anyway, not sure what the situation was inside. Not sure if I have no idea. I don't know what their procedure is or their policies. And I mean, plus they were looking for two criminals that were in the house. So maybe they wanted to rush them out quickly. Maybe not. I have no idea. All right, so we'll move on to the White House. Make no mistake, ICE is arresting the worst of the worst criminal, illegal aliens, gang members, murderers, arbiters, drug dealers, removing them from our streets. The brave men and women of ICE are true patriots. The raid at the church in Minnesota was horrible and unacceptable. The DOJ has launched a full investigation. Which, again, I covered this yesterday, so I probably won't play the full 2 minutes. These leftist agitators barged into the middle of a church congregation on Sunday morning. Which, this is a felony, by the way.
Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good!
Yeah, you're legally not allowed to intimidate a house of worship during church services under the FACE Act, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was passed in 1993. Again, I covered all that yesterday.
Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are your people? Why are you not at Whipple every day fighting for the humanity, standing for our people? Where are you? You drink your coffee, you got your jewelry, you have your nice clothes, but what do you do? What do you do to stand for your Somali and Latino communities?
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, these people that full-on felonies they're committing. Intimidating churchgoers. These motherfuckers, man. These people are fucking despicable. Scumbags. Absolute fucking scumbags. Losers, scumbags. I mean, it looks like 80% white women, too. Of course. All these insane liberals.
while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for
Brain
your
dead.
Latino and Somali brothers and sisters. You come here to a man wearing a suit as a preacher. Did Jesus wear a suit? Did Jesus Christ?
Dude, did it ever occur to these assholes that maybe they're at church praying to God that maybe these quote unquote innocent illegal aliens will be protected and they'll be able to live their lives without being harassed by the big bad orange man Cheetos Gestapo? No, of course not.
No, Jesus would dine with immigrants. You do not touch me. Touch me again and see what happens. Hey, you are a fake Christian. Why are you not standing with your Somali and Latino communities? Why do I not see you out at Whipple every day protesting this attack on humanity? Where are you? You're sinners.
I mean, dude, this is their way of trying to recruit people into joining their leftist mob. These people are fucking nuts. They're absolutely nuts.
But we know you live an easy life, don't you? A very easy life.
I mean, it's hard to not hope that they just continue doing this, because like this is a surefire way to get more Republicans to join their ranks to become registered Republican voters.
People starve, living real comfortable while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're all living real comfortable, aren't you? Shame on you. Do something. Stand with the Somalis. Stand with the Latinos. Quit ignoring this injustice. He wears a suit and tie, and he hangs out with Kristi Noem. How is that a Christian?
I mean, they all left. All the churchgoers, they had to leave. Insane.
Why are you not going down to Whipple and joining us in protest against this inhumanity? You claim to be a Christian. Act like one.
Yeah, this dude's definitely getting arrested. But yeah, the FACE Act, you can look that up. Yeah, it was passed back in the 90s, and it was all tied into abortion protesting and stuff. But also in that law, you can't engage in any intimidation during church services at a house of worship. There's also other language like threatening behavior and like committing assaults and stuff like that. But I'm sure they're going to be charging them under the intimidation part of the FACE Act, as they absolutely should be. I mean, look, it's all on video, man. Like the whole thing's on video. The DOJ better not like just sit on this and investigate it for like 3 solid months before anything happens. Like they need to be arresting these people like today, tomorrow. It's all on video. It's video evidence. I mean, what is there to investigate at that point, other than just having to identify these people, which a lot of them their faces were on camera. So I don't know. Maybe it might take them a little bit of time to maybe, pull up like cell phone data to try to triangulate the location, try to figure out exactly who every single individual was who went in. But look, as soon as they find out the first one, go arrest them right now. And I want to hear it. I want to hear about it. So I guess we'll see. I'll keep an eye on it. So Secretary Kristi Noem, arrests are coming this weekend in anti-ICE mobs targeted a church, emboldened by the reckless rhetoric from Minnesota's sanctuary politicians and the media. The First Amendment protects speech and peaceful assembly, not rioting. This administration is committed to upholding federal law and defending the rights of all Americans. These agitators will be held accountable. Let's take a listen.
That pastor really did a remarkable thing there, trying to protect his parishioners.
And even the parishioners, I imagine, have felt and feel intimidated and.
They did, and there's going to be arrests in the next several hours, Greta. There will be arrests tied to that.
Well, where are they? I want to see it.
People will be brought to justice for how they violated the law in that situation.
Well, Don Lemon is a journalist, and so I thought he was going, and so when I first saw it, I assumed he was going in as a journalist covering it. I mean, I go into bad places and ask questions all the time. But when his comment about the white supremacy all of a sudden made me think,
wait a minute, fucking Don Lemon was there? What an asshole,
Greta, man. Not only that comment,
fucking loser.
But the
He was
fact
probably
that
the one that
ahead of
organized
time
this
before
shit.
This even happened, he said that he had conducted some surveillance before they went into this church. He identified individuals that were going in with him that were activists and the work that they'd done in the past. The fact that this entire situation was then posted on the Black Lives Matter website, all of that is something that they're going to be responsible for.
Well,
and that pastor
Well,
really
good.
did a remarkable.
I think his ass should be fucking arrested too. Which, of course, he's going to try to hide behind the I'm a journalist. I was just there reporting on the ground. Yeah, okay, we'll see. We'll see. All right, FA United States Attorney Bill Essayli, official account of Bill Essayli, the first assistant U.S. attorney for the Central District of California. Prosecutors at the Justice Department are doing incredible work. We take obstruction of justice extremely seriously. My office alone has charged more than 100 individuals with assaulting or impeding federal immigration agents. We have many more investigations ongoing. You can read about those cases and more on our website. That's going to be at justice.gov. No, I'm not a robot. I always ask you if you're a robot. And yeah, it looks like you can filter by year. I've got it zoomed in. 3,244 results. And that's all in California, Orange County, Riverside County. Holy shit. Yeah. All right. Oh, here we go. Maryland, man. Okay, so this might be nationally or a national, but maybe not. Maybe it's a guy from Maryland who was in California. So anyway, again, I don't have time to go through all of it, but I mean, it shows 3,244 results. If you got a lot of spare time, you can find it there, justice.gov. And we'll head on to the next. At Office of the DNI, the President signed Executive Order 14147, ending the weaponization of the federal government and enabling DNI Tulsi Gabbard to uncover how intelligence was manufactured and politicized under the Obama administration to fabricate the Russia hoax. And we've got another link to DNI.gov, and that's going to be the press release. Yeah, it's too lengthy for me to go through, but of course, as always, I'll have it linked. Did they actually share a video too? No, they didn't. So this order sets forth the process to ensure accountability for the previous administration's weaponization of the federal government against the American people. The golden age of America, the vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of our government will end. And that was back on January 20th, 2025, President Trump. Let's see. Oh, wow. So there's actually quite a few that were posted. 365 days of the golden age. Year one of President Trump's second term marked a momentous shift in the intelligence community away from the status quo and toward restored trust for the American people. Under President Trump and DNI Tulsi Gabbard's leadership, we exposed the Russia hoax, thwarted narco-terrorists, saved taxpayers millions with ODNI 2.0, stripped away DEI, strengthened relationships with partners around the world, and delivered unprecedented transparency through historic declassification efforts, refocusing the intelligence community on its core mission, protecting the American people. That 3.5-4 minute video of Tulsi Gabbard, I'm sure she pretty much covered, I'm sure, everything that's going to be here. So I won't go through and read every single one of these, but what I'll do, as I usually do, I will repost that direct link to my profile in the description below. And this was posted at 9:07 a.m. January 20th at ODNI.gov. If you want to go look at it directly over on the X platform. And this is from Glenn Beck. This one's kind of lengthy. I'm not going to play the video because it's 13 minutes in length. Of course, I'm going to repost it because that's what I'm doing. But I will read this. Again, it is a bit lengthy. So, I figured it's worth bringing up. So anyway, he says, I said I would give Pam Bondi a year to prove herself as an attorney general who would dismantle the deep state, let Americans see the truth, and finally bring justice to the criminal elites who have been too big to jail. Today, that year is up, and I haven't seen evidence that she has done any of that. Bondi's handling of the Epstein case was one of the worst fumbles I have ever seen, but we all remember that. Yeah, I actually agree. What about the lack of prosecution against anyone who tried to weaponize the justice system against political opponents like Trump? Against political opponents? Okay, all right, I don't know, maybe I'm misreading that. Did he mean to say political opponents of Trump? I don't know. Anyway, or the failure to prosecute the perpetrators of the Russiagate hoax like Clapper and Comey. That's not weaponization. We've had the evidence for years that they lied and colluded with the press. Where are the prosecutions related to the Mar-a-Lago raid? We keep finding out that it was an even worse than what we were told, but nothing has happened yet. Yeah, you remember that when they raided Mar-a-Lago under Biden, and they were like planting evidence, and they were taking what were those, like those file jackets that said classified information. They were like just taking random papers and making it look like that there was classified stuff just strewn all over the floor when it wasn't. They were just planting all that shit. Can we get an update on any George Soros investigations? Yeah, I'd love to see that. Why has it taken so long to go after him? Very good question. Or how about the investigations, or how about investigating the Clintons for non-Epstein related scandals like Gazprom, Uranium One, Benghazi, Hillary's email server, claims of fraud in Haiti, anything the Clinton Foundation has touched? All great questions. How about the failure to drain the swamp of deep state actors working against the American people and their elected officials? Or the proven lies from Capitol Police about January 6th? Or the FBI's lies about the number of agents in the crowd? Investigations into possible 2020 election fraud? Or follow-up on Doge's fraud findings? Sure, the DOJ is looking into the Smalley fraudsters, but what about everyone in the banks, the state government, federal offices that had to have known about the fraud? What about Biden's auto pen scandal? Who signed off on everything if it wasn't Biden? And the Biden administration was full of government weaponization worth prosecuting. The COVID lockdowns and vaccine mandates. The unjust FACE Act arrests. Everything the Twitter files exposed. Where is a single arrest? And speaking of COVID, what about investigations into America's role in creating the virus and covering up its true origins? And dare I mention Fauci? Yeah, a hell of a comment. I mean, I think most people could see why I decided to go over it, even though Glenn Beck is not exactly a member of the swamp, not in an official capacity. Usually like 95, 98% of everything that I read, they all have the gray check marks, the gray badge, not the blue badge, because the gray badge is official government. But anyway, he says, to be fair, I understand that you can't just rush to prosecute cases as massive as Epstein, Russiagate, and COVID. It takes years if you want to do that right. We're not looking for show trials, but all I've seen so far is hearing after hearing with no results. Maybe there's a reason for that, but, and I believe this alone is enough to fire her, Bondi has failed to communicate any of this to the American people. We want results, but even more so, we want the honest truth. Now, I'll even throw in something and say that look, just indictments would be good enough. Whether if it's the Clintons or like I know Fauci, he was pardoned by Biden. That's for a whole nother conversation. But I mean, where's the indictments from these officials, or at least just reminding us that the investigation is like they're making waves, they're moving forward with it. Like with regard to anybody, man, like he named off all kinds of entities and individuals, and George Soros is another example, and not really anything. So, yeah, I think he raises some very good points. And I don't watch Glenn Beck. I actually don't think I've ever seen his show. Of course, I know who he is, but I've just I don't know, just never really gave him any time. I mean, not that I got really anything against him. I just don't really know him. I know he's been around forever. Like Sean Hannity. I don't pay attention to him really either. Although I used to listen to Sean Hannity on AM radio way back in like 2006 and 7, like when I used to commit to work, when I worked third shift way back in the day. Like he was on at like 4 p.m. to like 6 p.m. or something. Same with Mark Levin. He was on at like 9 p.m. on AM radio, local. It was my local AM radio. I always listen to talk radio. I was one of those like weird 20-somethings who listen to talk radio. All right. Anyway, so Aaron Durham, if the phrase "I try to avoid black-owned brands" came out of a white first lady's mouth, the country would have a meltdown. Racism is racism, as it is. Michelle Obama says she is mindful to try to avoid white-owned brands, and others also should be. So let's take a look at this.
If I hear of someone whose fashion that I like, and I know that they're a person of color, I try to make it a point. But the clothes have to be available. I think we can all do some work to think about that balance in our wardrobes. What does our closet look like, and who's in it? Mm-hmm. Who are we supporting in it?
Right.
And I think if you have the money to buy Chanel, then you have the money to buy everybody.
Right.
And so let us be mindful, I think would be my advice.
Yeah.
Well, and she's very careful with how she's conveying this information. I mean, look, we can all draw the same conclusion that, yeah, she's talking about don't just buy exclusively white people stuff, or not even the majority white people stuff. I mean, I think most people are going to be like, dude, I'm just going to buy what I think looks attractive or what I think looks nice and shiny. I'm not going to shop based on race, because that's insane. All right. So, and I've got one more from Avery Day. Michelle Obama urges women not to buy from white-owned brands while wearing a $1,185 skirt created by a white designer. Michelle Obama is a privileged, racist hypocrite who hates white people.
I think we should all be mindful and make sure that we're not purchasing clothes made by Black designers. We need to pay attention to who's in our closets. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that racist?
If I hear of someone whose fashion that I like, and I know that they're a person of color, I try to make it a point.
Yeah, but people of color can't be racist. It's not possible.
The clothes have to be available.
That's what a lot of progressives would tell you.
We can all do some work to think about that balance in our wardrobes.
No, they could be prejudiced, but they can't be racist.
And who's in it?
It's impossible.
Who are we supporting in it?
Right.
And I think if you have the money to buy Chanel, then you have the money to buy everybody.
Right.
All right, well, playing that clip earlier was pointless.
Let us be mindful, I think would be my advice.
Yeah.
Guess we got to hear it again.
Why do they hate white people so much? What a disgusting thing to say. What a racist thing to say. And Michelle Obama, since you're going to preach at us not to wear clothes from white designers, you better not be wearing clothes from white designers, right? Oh, wait. The skirt she's wearing is made
She
by
brought the
Amelia
receipts.
Wickstead. That costs over $1,000 and is a white
Can't make this shit up, people.
designer. The Democrats are so racist.
Mhm.
They hate white people.
They've always been
Just
racist.
truly imagine if I said this about black people. Like, imagine if I was like, I'm not going to buy this because it's a black designer. How about we just buy what we like?
Thank you.
Why
That's what I
is
said.
hyper focus on race? It's so gross. The Democrats are everything they claim we are. Racist.
Yeah, absolutely. They want everybody to view everything through a racial lens constantly. All right. So anyway, we're going to move on to the CDC. Flu activity continues to decline since the holiday season. CDC Flu View reports a drop in clinical lab test positivity for the second week in a row, and outpatient visits for influenza-like illness are also decreasing. CDC remains engaged in enhanced surveillance this flu season. See more at cdc.gov/fluview. And I will have that linked if you want to look up more information on that. Positive test influenza A reported to CDC by clinical laboratories. National summary 2025-26 season week ending January the 10th. And can I make this any smaller? Yeah, there we go. That's better. So yeah, the percent positive up to 34.2% on the 27th of December. And yeah, man, it's been steadily declining. That's good. I've never had a flu vaccine. I never got one. Like, never in my whole life have I ever gotten a flu vaccine. I got the swine flu vaccine because, I just, it was the time back in like the late, what was that, like 07, 08, somewhere around there. Maybe it was 2009 when the whole swine flu scare was going on. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but yeah, they had a vaccine and it was available for me to take it and I didn't have to pay for it at the time. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'm kind of ignorant as to vaccines and, vaccines back then to me, they sounded good. Yeah, sure, I'll get it. I mean, is it going to prevent me from getting swine flu? Unlike the COVID vaccine, which it didn't prevent you from getting COVID. If you got the COVID vaccine, you're getting COVID anyway. All right, so moving on to Secretary Lori Chavez de Raymer. It was great to join my friend Howard Lutnick at Micron Tech, CEO Sanjay Mehrotra in New York for the groundbreaking of the MegFab, Micron's new $100 billion semiconductor plant. This building is going to cost $100 billion. I mean, like, they could build entire stadiums, like 100,000 seat stadiums for like what, 1 billion, 1.5 billion? I mean, I get it though. Like semiconductor, like the machinery alone is probably in the tens of billions of dollars, but still, man, that's crazy. Under President Trump's leadership, we'll continue revitalizing American industry and bring manufacturing back to our nation. She shared a few images. Maybe I'm assuming the CEO of Micron, I would think. There's Lori Chavez de Raymer. They're doing the groundbreaking ceremony in the snow. And Secretary de Raymer given a speech at the event. Definitely very good. I said this never would have happened under Democrat leadership. They are not for the working class anymore. They are gaslighters lusting for absolute power. All right, so head on to U.S. Embassy Jamaica from 12 hours ago. On the ground in the communities, the U.S. Disaster Assistance Response Team returned to Jamaica to assess how U.S. foreign assistance is supporting communities affected by Hurricane Melissa, which was a Category 5 hurricane, the strongest hurricane in recorded history to have ever hit Jamaica. I'm trying to remember what the wind speeds were. It was like 175 miles an hour when it made landfall on the southern end of the island. Absolutely insane hurricane. In St. James, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland, the team met with families whose roofs have been repaired, visited evacuation centers, and reviewed health, water, and food support reaching communities. Working alongside partners including UNICEF, Project Hope, and the UN World Food Program, the team visited clinics, schools, water systems, and medical facilities and heard directly from community members about what support has meant during recovery. These visits help ensure U.S. foreign assistance continues to respond to real needs on the ground. And you know what? It wasn't like it wasn't like that we sent like $1 billion in disaster aid. We only sent like $17 million. 17, maybe $20 million with an M, not with a B, but with an M. I mean, if Democrats were running the show, we probably would have sent something like $1 billion to Jamaica, but that's probably all they needed. They probably just needed, $15, $20 million to rebuild the areas that were worst affected. So anyway, so we got this.
We are here today with our NGO partners in Black River, St. Elizabeth, looking at what we have done over the last 3 months to help Jamaica
that acronym
recover.
just leaves a nasty
We're very proud
taste
to
in
be
my
working
mouth.
with them, and
Thanks
we're
to
going to
Democrats.
continue to work together, stand united with Jamaica to help Jamaica build back better.
Hi, I'm Erin McGee.
Build
I'm a
back
regional
better.
disaster advisor with the Department of State.
Kind of a poor choice of words there,
Today
sir.
we went to several communities in St. James and St. Elizabeth to see some of the housing repairs that we're doing, meeting with community members who have had their roofs repaired. We also stopped by some of the evacuation centers that are in some of the affected areas. And right now we're looking at how we can better support Jamaica in managing some of the debris that was caused by Hurricane Melissa. So we've been going out today with our partner, the International Organization for Migration, to see how our relief efforts are progressing.
And look, man, if they're just out there helping, if they're taking those funds and they're putting them to good use and they're actually fixing the infrastructure and they're rebuilding, I don't care which side they're politically affiliated with, as long as they're using the money to do the right thing. All right, so Secretary Marco Rubio, I look forward to working with Dr. Ali Saaf and the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza to build a better future for the people of Gaza and the entire region. That's from Dr. Ali Saaf from the 17th, so it's just a few days ago. Today, as my first official act, I adopted and signed the NCAG mission statement affirming our governing mandate and operating principles. How long is this? Okay, so it's not too long. Authorized by the UN Security Council Resolution 2803 and President Donald J. Trump's 20-point peace plan, the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza is dedicated to transforming the transnational period in Gaza into a foundation for lasting Palestinian prosperity under the guidance of the Board of Peace, chaired by President Donald J. Trump. And with the support and assistance of the High Representative for Gaza, our mission is to rebuild the Gaza Strip, not just in infrastructure, but also in spirit. But meanwhile, the leftist agitators, the progressive leftists, they're still chanting, "Free Palestine, free Palestine." Anyway, we are committed to establishing security, restoring the essential services that form the bedrock of human dignity, such as electricity, water, healthcare, and education, as well as cultivating a society rooted in peace, democracy, and justice, operating with the highest standards of integrity and transparency. The NCAG will forge a productive economy capable of replacing unemployment with opportunity for all. We embrace peace, through which we strive to secure the path to true Palestinian rights and self-determination. And of course, the left are not going to give Trump this win, even though he brought peace to Gaza, which is exactly what they were screaming for years and years. President Trump delivered, but of course, not even a simple effing thank you. All right, so U.S. Commerce Department, globalization has failed. Secretary Lutnick at the World Economic Forum, quote, "The Trump administration and I are here to make a very clear point. Globalization has failed the West and the United States of America. It's a failed policy, and it has left America behind. America is done exporting jobs and offshoring its future. We will no longer give in to globalization." Man, I love to hear that.
You should start at a much higher level.
Okay.
We are in Davos at the World Economic Forum. And the Trump administration and myself, we are here to make a very clear point. Globalization has failed the West and the United States.
Oh, I love to hear that, man.
It's a failed policy. It is what the West
Damn
has
straight.
stood for, which is export, offshore, far shore,
cheap
find
labor,
the cheapest labor in the
sweatshops,
world, and the world is a better place.
maximum
for it.
profit
The
for the
fact
fat
is,
cats.
it has left America behind. It has left the American workers behind. And what we are here to say is that America First is
Oh, man,
a
they hate to
different
hear
model,
this.
one that we encourage other countries to consider, which is that our workers come first.
Yep.
We can have
Your country's workers should come
policies
first, too.
that impact our workers. Sovereignty is your borders. You're
Yep.
entitled to have borders. You shouldn't offshore your medicine. You shouldn't offshore your semiconductors. You shouldn't offshore your entire industrial base and have it be hollowed out beneath you. You should not be dependent for that which is fundamental to your sovereignty
Dude's holding on to
any
his
other
jaw.
nation. And if you're going to be dependent on someone, it darn well better be your best allies. Okay? And so that
Damn straight.
is a different way of thinking. It is completely different than the WEF. I viewed the WEF as not a
The WEF.
flagpole in the middle, but in fact, they are the flag. Whichever way the wind blew, so it blew. You should have solar, you should have wind. Why are
ridiculous.
you going to do solar and wind? Why would Europe
Trillions of
agree
dollars.
to be net zero in 2030 when they don't make a battery.
Because they're brain
They
dead
don't make a
cultists.
battery. So if they go
course they don't.
2030, they are
They're morons.
deciding to be subservient to China, who makes the batteries.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. That is exactly what they're doing. They're making themselves fully and legally dependent on China. They etched it into their law that they have to be dependent on China or whoever else is going to be making these batteries for them. It's psychotic. It's absolutely insane. All right, and I got one more. U.S. Commerce Department, our message to the globalists in Davos: when America shines, the world shines. Without America, it gets dark pretty quickly, as
If
it
they
does.
go 2030,
100%.
they are deciding to be subservient to China, who makes the batteries. Why would you do that? Why would the United States of America, which has oil and natural gas,
because it's
try
bad
to
for the
convert
earth?
to all electricity?
Like climate change, man.
China does not have oil and natural gas. Electricity and electric cars make perfect sense to them. That is practical and logical.
Yeah, and like 80% of all the electricity that's produced in China, is it wind and solar? Fuck no, it's not. It's coal. Coal. And right now they've got 27 major coal plants in development right now, under construction, in addition to the hundreds of coal plants that they already have running full steam in China. It's a coal producing or a coal consuming superpower, really.
So the point I want to make, and I want people to think about, is that America First is the job of our government to take care of our workers.
You know what?
to
Let us
sure
make the
their
batteries.
lives are better for it.
We can make batteries.
And then don't be America alone, right? But be America First. And I would suggest that policy is something for other countries to deeply consider, to take care of their own, and then we will work out wonderful relationships between us.
Yeah, not with
But
these
I
cultist
want
leaders.
To point out,
That ain't
when
happening.
America shines, the world shines. Close your eyes and think of a world without America in it. It becomes pretty dark, pretty darn quickly. When America shines, right? And everyone said, oh, you're going to do all these tariffs, you're going to destroy the world. The world's stock markets are up.
They're at
Which
records.
one?
Yeah.
All of them.
Well, the same with gold and silver. I mean, silver's pushing $100 an ounce right now, which is crazy. And not to mention all the stuff that the United States has produced over our history, you know, cars and trains, planes, electricity, the telephone, Morse code, air conditioning, and all the shit that came out of Silicon Valley. It just goes on and on. I mean, like, with all these people that say, like, death to America, we hate America. Well, you sure enjoy a lot of the fruits of what America's produced for you. If you're really anti-American, then get rid of your car, shut off your power, and just be happy. Don't get on the internet anymore either while you're at it. All right, so, I mean, he dropped a couple of bangers, man, at the World Economic Forum. All right, you know they didn't like what he had to say, but it needs to be said because he's 100% correct. House Foreign Affairs Committee Majority Chairman Rep. Brian Mast: China has had a chokehold on critical minerals, threatening our economic and national security. Rep. Young Kim's bill will give America the tools to end CCP coercion over these essential resources. This is a must-win for us and our allies. And from Young Kim, Rep. Young Kim, Xi Jinping's export controls were a wake-up call. Now we're wide awake and answering with action. The Dominance Act is our answer. Bipartisan critical minerals push aims to quit reliance on China. And it doesn't look like she's got an article linked. But anyway, it does say a bill from Rep. Young Kim, Republican from California above, and Ami Bera, Democrat from California, seeks to strengthen U.S. partnerships with allies to overtake China's dominance of the critical minerals and rare earths supply chains. And that is a very good thing. And definitely the Trump administration is working overtime to see that through with exploring for mines and just trying to mine out the rare earths. I know Utah is a big place to mine rare earths. I think Nevada's one. I'm sure Alaska's one also. So anyway, so the Department of State from 14 hours ago, on February 4th, Secretary Rubio will welcome partners from across the globe to the State Department for the inaugural Critical Minerals Ministerial. Strengthening critical mineral supply chains with our international partners is vital to America's economic and national security, technological leadership, and a resilient energy future. Okay, man, the future looks bright. It does look bright. At least let's hope so. Caroline Leavitt, this whopping 5.3% GDP growth prediction is making globalist heads explode. That is a high GDP output for the United States. It may not be so high for countries like India, for example, but it's certainly a pretty good number for the U.S. Let's see. The pulse points. I guess I'll just go through these pulse points. You know, I'm over 2 hours now, so I'm like way over. I try to keep the show under 2 hours, but it never seems to stay short of that these days. This whopping 5.3% GDP growth predictions making globalist heads explode. What happened? The Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta has updated its gross domestic product estimate for the U.S. economy for the fourth quarter of 2025 to an astounding 5.3%. Who was involved? The Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, American businesses, economists, and the Trump administration. The estimate was released earlier in January with an update scheduled for Wednesday, January the 22nd. The initial fourth quarter GDP numbers will be released on February the 20th. And the impact, while jobs data continues to suggest a softening in the job market, overall economic data shows the American economy continues to strengthen. But plus, there were, how many is it? Like 2.1 million self-deportations that have happened over the course of the last year. And not saying that all of them, but I'm sure probably most of them had a job in some way, shape, or form. So maybe there's not a whole lot of new job positions that didn't exist that are being added to the market, but I'm sure there's still a lot of existing job positions that are out there available, even though they say that there is softening happen, which there could be. Although over the next few years, there's going to be an explosion in the jobs market because of the literal trillions of dollars in investing that's coming back into the United States from the likes of Apple and Big Pharma, GE. They're building a plant. The automakers, they're bringing manufacturing back. So there's going to be a huge boom in manufacturing over the next few years. I mean, as a worker, you're not going to be a millionaire, working for them, but it's going to be a steady job. At least hopefully it will be, unless the Democrats work overtime to dismantle it, while at the same time saying, well, we're the party for the American workers. Yeah, well, we'll see if that really ends up panning out or not. All right, U.S. DOT Rapid Response, Secretary Duffy, we are modernizing our skies under the president's administration. We have a contract for a brand new radar. They haven't been done in almost 50 years, and this is well underway. That's crazy, man. 50 years since they've
traffic control.
Upgraded the radar
this has been a
systems.
Problem for decades. President Trump said, we are going to fix it. We got $12.5 billion. Brian, thank you for saying that is not enough. We need another $20 billion to get this done. But we've already started moving from analog to digital. We have a contract for brand new
so crazy, man.
radar.
Air traffic control is still analog in some places.
So this is well underway under Trump's term.
It's wild. And Secretary Duffy, over the summer, he toured, I can't remember which airport it was, but he toured an airport which still had equipment in place from the 1970s. And that's air traffic control, using the same system for freaking 50 years. And they're upgrading it. And that's exactly what Pete Buttigieg, that's what he was supposed to do when he was the head of the Department of Transportation, and he didn't. Apparently, they allocated funds for them to upgrade air traffic control, and he just never got around to it. All right, U.S. DOT Rapid Response, another one. President and CEO of Airlines.org and Chris Sununu praises the president, Secretary Duffy, and the Federal Aviation Administration, the chair, Brian Bedford, for their work to modernize America's air traffic control system. The work only continues.
Next week marks 1 year since the deadly midair crash over the Potomac between a commercial jet and an Army helicopter that killed 67 people.
Former New Hampshire governor and president and
CEO unfortunately, that got buried in the news, didn't it?
Chris Sununu joins us now. Mr. Governor, thank you so much for joining us. You have a message when it comes to modernization and upgrades in light of this anniversary that we are just so sadly approaching. Tell us about that.
Well, we're getting it done. I mean, that's the most important thing for the American people to hear, that this antiquated system that runs on paper strips and floppy disks and things that you don't even think would exist anymore.
Wow, dude.
That's all being transferred. This administration is taking it seriously. Sean Duffy,
I still have one floppy disk in my
Brian
possession
Bedford,
from
these
the
guys
90s.
aren't just
It has guitar
lawyers
tabs
and
on it.
politicians and bureaucrats. They're
I haven't
engineers,
played
the
guitar in
designers,
like
the
25
implementers.
years.
So typically, big government projects fail. They get caught up in this bureaucracy and they waste their dollars. But this administration is moving, and they're making huge transformations in the system. We got a long ways to go. We've only had about a third of the money allocated, but they're replacing old copper lines to fiber. They just bought new radar systems. So they're making the adjustments, not just because of this crash, but because the system itself has been antiquated. It's safe. It's a very safe system. It's the most robust system in the world, but it's really seen its day, and they're just not taking it piece by piece. They're going whole hog on it. It's pretty awesome.
That optimism is very promising. I'm going to bring us down a notch. January 31st.
Just don't connect it to the internet.
That
Sounds
is
like
the
a bad
deadline,
idea.
for those of you that don't know, to fund the government yet again. Yes, we're doing this once again. What would another shutdown mean for the ability for
Oh, yeah, here we go again.
airlines that you
Democrats want to shut
and
down the
federal
government
to make
because they
our
want to
skies
defund
even
ICE.
safer?
It'd be awful. It'd be absolutely awful. You know, when we had this shutdown back in October, and again, the airlines have nothing to do with the government shutdown other than
Not
we are the
directly.
punching bag. The American customer.
Yeah, I'd say they get
becomes the
affected by
punching
it.
bag.
That's for damn
and
sure.
nobody thought they would take it almost to Thanksgiving, right? We were only a vote away from having basically a shutdown system over Thanksgiving. We're paranoid, and rightly so, that the American public is going to be held hostage again.
Well, that's why air traffic controllers that didn't call in sick and they showed up every day during the shutdown, as well as and also the TSA agents, they got $10,000 bonuses for showing up every day during the shutdown because it really sucked, and that was awesome that they showed up. And if there is another government shutdown, which I said right after they reopened the government, it was a smart move for them to give them those $10,000 bonuses in case Democrats want to obstruct with another government shutdown, that anybody who works for TSA and air traffic control, they're definitely going to show up to work every single day during the shutdown because they might have another $10,000 check to look forward to.
And it would mean that all of this work that we've done to modernize our system, it's like one step forward, two steps back. We got to start a lot of these processes again. You got to get the contractors going again. All that money dries up. All that innovation that we're putting into the system comes to a screeching halt because Congress refuses to do their job. So again, we're close to getting the deal done. It has to get done in the next 2 weeks. Fingers are crossed, but with anything in government, don't just cross your fingers. You got to get on the phone, you got to work it, you got to make sure the votes are there. Because again, the thing that really suffers, it's the airlines, but it's really the American public, that where the whole system comes screeching.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of politicians, they tend to only vote for things that would help them secure their reelection rather than just simply doing the right freaking
All your
thing.
commerce, FedEx, UPS, delivering health care to your homes, all of that gets hampered and really hindered if they were to shut things down again.
What is the main thing that's missing and needs to get done when it comes to safety in air travel?
So there's another big date coming up. In 2 weeks, the NTSB will really review that tragic accident from a year ago, right? They'll look at the probable cause and all of those things. And by the way, Jennifer Hamady at the NTSB does a phenomenal job. They're moving quickly. They're not letting things go years. So first, making sure you understand where the soft points are, where the problems are.
Yeah, in all fairness, some of these NTSB investigations do take years.
They would, have reports. Things wouldn't get done for years.
If we're talking floppy disks, they certainly
It's incredible. But President Trump and this administration, Sean Duffy, Brian Bedford, these guys are just moving. And the American public we got a ways to go, but we should be very optimistic about what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, it's certainly better than it was during the last administration. At least they're actually getting stuff done. They're actually rebuilding the air traffic control system. Definitely something that needs to be done. And U.S. Department of Energy tapped to see Mr. Energy Dominance, 1 year unleashing American energy dominance. That looks like President Trump. It is President Trump. I don't know why it's cut off like that. Oh, yeah. So they were supposed to include the entire image. Looks like it got pieced out by accident. Oh, well, nothing. Sometimes things aren't perfect. All right, Tristan Abbey, EIA-1, the official account of Tristan Abbey, the 11th administrator of the U.S. Energy Information Administration. Yep, they exist. Happy to announce that EIA State Energy Portal is finally out of beta testing, where it has languished since May 15th of 2019, nearly 7 years. Much more to come, full speed ahead at EIA.gov. And it's just a database with regard to U.S. energy. It takes a minute to load. It did the same on my phone when I was researching for this episode. So yeah, they have it categorized by state. Total energy production and consumption by state 2023. And measured in trillion BTUs, British thermal units. And it looks like, at least my state, it looks like we consume more than we produce in Florida. Yeah, we consume a lot more than we produce. Oh, well, it is what it is. And then they've also got the U.S. territories. Then you could browse by the energy source, also the activity of energy. And they've also got the most recent articles with regard to energy. At least these are supposed to be recent articles. EIA forecasts Alaska crude oil production is going to grow by 13% this year, so that's good news. Anyway, so yeah, this website is out of beta testing. So if you're all about energy, you can find that link right below in the description. And roll into DEA St. Louis. Did you know the DEA seized 45.2 million fentanyl pills and 9,321 pounds of fentanyl this year? And you can learn more at dea.gov/fentanylfree. And that is crazy, dude. Those look like Xanax bars, actually. I mean, that's kind of how they do things, though, right? I mean, there's like some fentanyl pills. They've got them in kind of like how they did ecstasy with like different colors and different stamps of like shapes and hearts and all that nonsense. All right, so U.S. Army. The U.S. Army is the heartbeat of our free country. Let's take a look at this video.
Quitting is not my vocabulary.
The United States Army is the heartbeat of our free country. It's about loyalty. It's about duty and respect.
I will lead by example.
It is selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. Tonight, we celebrate the Army's 250 years of service. This is your Army, and these are your soldiers.
I always like showing the military videos, and I don't have, well, I kind of do have a bias toward one military branch. My grandfather, my dad, my brother, all Air Force, so my whole family's Air Force. But it seems like the U.S. Army, they're pretty consistent with showing these videos. The Marines also, I think every once in a while I come across the Navy. I don't really see much coming out of the Air Force, though, but anytime I come across any from the branches, Space Force included, I'll if there's not too much to cover, I'll include it. All right, so U.S. Southern Command, through Operation Southern Spear, the Department of War is unwavering in its mission to crush illicit activity in the Western Hemisphere in partnership with U.S. Coast Guard, the DHS, and the Justice Department. This morning, U.S. military forces, in support of the Department of Homeland Security, apprehended motor vessel Sagita without incident. The apprehension of another tanker operating in defiance of President Trump's established quarantine of sanctioned vessels in the Caribbean demonstrates our resolve to ensure that the only oil leaving Venezuela will be oil that is coordinated properly and lawfully. As the joint force operates in the Western Hemisphere, we reaffirm that the security of the American people is paramount, demonstrating our commitment to safety and stability. These operations are backed by the full power of our elite joint force team deployed in the Caribbean. And they've got U.S. Navy and U.S. Marine Corps also tagged in this post, which, of course, there's not going to be sound. There's never sound. Not with the helicopter and drone footage. But, yeah, you can see them right there. Oh, yeah, also over here, too. Wait, that's not a tanker, though, is it? Okay, that's the tanker. Well, yeah, maybe this is part of the tanker. That looks awful sophisticated for a tanker. But, yeah, all right. Anyway, so, yeah, that happened today. Usually I include that up toward the top. But, yeah, for this episode, it's near the end, so... Anyway, so the Department of War, 1 year of President Trump and Secretary Hegseth.
Good morning, and welcome to the War Department.
If you attack the United States of America, we will crush you without mercy. That's why we named the former Department of Defense the Department of War. 7 American B-2 bombers dropped the
30,000-pound
each bombs on Iran's key nuclear facility.
Nicolas Maduro had his chance. He effed around, and he found out.
Blessed with the strongest and most powerful military in the history of the world.
This is America first. This is peace through strength. And the United States War Department is proud to help deliver. Welcome to 2026. And under President Trump, America is back.
Hell yeah, man. Awesome video. That was put together pretty well. Oh yeah, man. B-2. Yeah, they got the B-22. Is it the B-22 Raider? I know it's called the Raider. It's like the next generation stealth bomber that they're rolling out. And I think they've already done all the testing and everything. I think it's pretty much ready to go. I don't know if it's an operation yet. I don't think it is. But yeah, we'll probably be seeing more of the Raider. I think it's B-22. Maybe I'm off by a number or two. But all right, so defense news. Hot tips for fighting in cold conditions, according to a Finnish soldier. Hashtag Arctic, military, Greenland, and NATO.
With tensions rising in the high north between NATO members, Denmark, and the U.S. over Greenland, much of the attention has shifted towards the Arctic region. In a previous interview, a member of the Jaeger Brigade, a unit within the Finnish army in charge of developing Arctic warfare tactics, told me that Arctic-like conditions in the cold found in the region can actually be more threatening to soldiers that come and train there than actual combat situations. So what are the tips and tricks of Arctic warfare specialist units to survive in environments as hostile as the polar region? Some of the knowledge passed down by the Finns ranges from basic skills
No
such
way.
as putting newspaper
That old
under
polar bear
soldiers'
plunge.
socks and boots
Yikes.
to take off the moisture, to more complex
I
elements
hate
such
cold
as
weather.
driving
Oh
multi-ton
my God.
armored vehicles on slippery roads and keeping howitzers running in temperatures capable of reaching minus 30 degrees Celsius. Other soldiers noted that some of the weapons have a tendency to jam more in the cold, which can be deadly in the face of an enemy attack.
Yeah, that
One
can't be
said, in
good.
the weather we see out here, we often opt to keep our guns frozen by leaving them outside tents. If you take it inside, all the snow and ice gets inside of them, and then if you go outside, it freezes completely. Keep it completely outside or inside the tent, no in between. For bigger pieces of equipment such as armored vehicles, a Finnish engineer said there's a question of timing. Knowing when to pre-start the engine to have it ready for action when needed is critical.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, the cold's going to come with its own set of problems, but any region in the world's going to have its own set of problems depending on where you're at. But I mean, yeah, dude, that cold water, hell with that. I'm a big cold water pansy. It's got to be like 80 degrees before I get in. And I'm a fish in the water. I mean, I used to swim competitively back in my school days. But yeah, dude, I don't play cold water. That sucks. All right, so NWS Weather Prediction Center, the latest on the major winter storm and extreme cold expected later this week. Again, NWS Weather Prediction Center. It is a government agency, or it's affiliated with the government. It's got the badge, so I could talk about the weather sometimes on here. Significant winter storm, widespread heavy snow and dangerous ice expected from Friday through the weekend. So that's from January 23rd to the 25th. The chance of at least moderate snow and ice impacts is going to be all over the eastern, southeastern U.S. Doesn't quite look like it's going to get to my neck of the woods, even though a few days ago, maybe it was about a week at this point, the panhandle of Florida did get a little bit of snow. But anyway, yeah, man, that's, what is that, 70%? Yeah, in Virginia especially, looks like pushing up into 80% chance. Looks like D.C. also. So, yeah, man, D.C., they're going to get some snow and some freezing rain. It's cut off a little bit. I don't see the legend, the color. But anyway, yes, freezing rain in the southeast, of course, and then snow is going to be blanketing all across the areas in blue. Look out for heavy snow, dangerous ice, forecast uncertainty, and I don't know, man. Keep your head on a swivel. Keep an eye on your local weather if you happen to live in that region. So a key message for late January: extreme cold. Apparently, we have extreme cold. Is this one of those polar vortexes that we're going to have? I'm not sure, but dangerously cold temperatures are going to expand across the northern U.S. by the end of this week. The minimum wind chill from January 22nd through 26th, looks like up in Minnesota, it's going to be like wind chills in the negative 50s and negative 60s. Yikes, man. So risk of hazardous cold from January 28th all the way to February the 3rd. So this circle, I know it's hard to see because it's, especially if you're looking at this on a phone, it covers pretty much all of Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, northern parts of Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, most of North Carolina, pretty much all of Virginia, all of West Virginia, most or about half of Pennsylvania, all of Ohio. They're expecting a high risk for extreme cold, which really sucks because like the second line actually extends all the way to where I live. I live in the Tampa Bay area, so it looks like we're going to get colder than average temperatures, which really sucks. But that's going to be nothing compared to what that's going to probably bring further north. I mean, I guess like compared to where most people live, I shouldn't have any right to complain. All right, so anyway, ready, Gov. Be ready for snowy and icy road conditions by keeping supplies in your car that will come in handy during emergencies, including delays and interruptions while you travel. I think most people living up north probably know all this by now, but, it's a government agency. Might as well play it. Well, I got those jumper cables. I don't have flares, though. I don't need one of them. Shovel, of course. Phone chargers, check. Blanket, yeah, that can be done. First aid kit, definitely. Flashlight, good idea. Cat litter and snow and ice, sure, good idea. Gloves, boots, hat, water, food. Yep, all a good idea. Yeah, I remember my parents, because I lived in wintry conditions for a part of my life. It's been like decades now. It's like crazy to say that, like how old that I seem to be getting. But because I've lived in Florida over 20 years at this point. But I remember back in the day, like my parents, they would always keep Pop-Tarts underneath the driver's seat. And I think like breakfast bars and stuff. And that was just in case if we were to like slide off the road or something, at least there would be something to eat, you know, like delicious Triscuit crackers. All right, so I got this from NASA Technology. So now that I'm in the NASA area, we're at the end of the episode. Congratulations to the winners of the 2025-26 NASA Tech Rise Student Challenge. The 60 teams of 6th through 12th graders from across the U.S. will launch their science and technology experiments on a Virgin Galactic or Worldview space vehicle this summer. And they have a link to the website. Of course, that'll be below. And we've got this quick video. Hell yeah, the young minds, the young American geniuses. Although I could not tell you what it was they were making, but it looks sophisticated, definitely beyond my capabilities, I'm sure. So anyway, that will do it for this episode. Just let me double check. Yep, that is it for this episode. So if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a quick like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll be dropping a new episode tomorrow as I do the swamp Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, and the agencies. Also, I post daily on X, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.